All right, man. We gonna talk today, this morning. We're gonna talk about how much I do not like AI. How I do not like ChatGPT and how there has to be a problem with this ChatGPT. Somebody has to be controlling this ChatGPT. There's too many purposeful things that have been done. What's up, everybody coming in? There's too many purposeful things that are being done as I'm trying to transcribe these letters in ChatGPT, and I gotta reread almost 300 some letters just because it's doing this. So it's literally replacing. We're gonna go over some letters here this morning. We're gonna go over some letters here this morning from the Chickasaw Agency. I'll show you where I'm at. But this is insane. This is insane. I've been reading a lot of letters. That's why I hadn't really been live. And I'm just finding out I'm gonna have to reread these letters. That's insane. What's up, folks? Coming in. Let me do this so I can see y'all. Y'all can see this. So we reading. This is what I've been on the past several days. What's up, Tomahawk Tony? What up, people? So this is what I've been on the past several days. And why I haven't really been going live is because I've been really reading the hell out of these letters. Now, these letters are important because they're from 1824 to 1870. Now, what's one of the things I always talk about that happened during that time? It is the whoops, that's not it. The Dancing Rabbit Treaty of 1830 happens around this time. So the Dancing Rabbit Treaty of 1830 happens around this time. So I was like, okay, well, that's pretty dope because I'll be able to get first-hand accounts to a degree of what was going on through people's handwritings. Okay? So that's why this is pretty explosive. What's up, Geechee Maine? That's a dope name. Especially the way you spell Maine. Geechee Maine. I love that. What's up, Maine? Tomahawk. Yeah, y'all. So, like, I'm about to kind of go over this. Let me roll one up real quick. We're going to go over some letters. And I'm going to tell y'all what I found in this letter that made me be like, okay, AI is really doing this on purpose now. Because there's a passage in this letter talking about a dude named Levi Colbert. And in letters previous to this letter, they had said that the Indians did not like Levi Colbert for multiple different reasons, and we'll get into it. But in this letter, there's a passage ChatGPT had. This is what ChatGPT said. So, and I got to go back and reread all of these letters. Damn, dude, because ain't no telling how many times it did this. So it says, be existing of blacks and thereby continually throw to bring. When I first read that, be existing of blacks, I went back to this one because it was supposed to be continuing from this page. Now, this page ends with the precise time they would, and when you go to here, so it does say the precise time they would, so we know at the end, right? So, okay, it did that correctly. So the precise time they would be existing of blacks and thereby continually. So I was like, that don't make sense. So then I clicked here and I was like, okay, what is this really saying? And it says, it says right here, be willing to start and thereby. So I was like, why did it miss that? I was like, okay, maybe it's just tripping. Maybe it couldn't, it looks a little off or some, maybe it thought that word was black or something, and willing was whatever, right? But it had already, like, just to preface this, and we'll take a look at it. We'll take a look at it. I can text or you can text the customer either way, comma, and just see if we can put them off until 10 a.m. period, or whatever time you feel like, period. I can text them now, period. Give me just a second, y'all. You want me to read you? Give me just a second, y'all. Let me my detailer has a job this morning, and my detailer has a job this morning, and it's freezing like a motherfucker. So we're about to see if I can move this customer for him till later. Give me just 2 seconds. Hi, this is Sam with On the Spot Mobile Detail, comma, due to the weather being below freezing, comma, we are postponing appointments, period. We can still get a detailer to you today by 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. if that works, question mark. If not, let me know, and we can either refund your deposit or reschedule you for another day. All right, y'all, my bad. Little word. All right, so okay. So it said this. Oh yeah, I was gonna say, so earlier, like the other day, I think it was yesterday, either yesterday or the day before yesterday, I was translating another page, and it had named some names. One name was Othello Love, and I was like, Othello Love, and I started looking through the love lines trying to find Othello Love because I know these names and many of these names, the Loves and the Colberts and some of these people they're talking about. I've been already back and forth with these things, so I hadn't heard of an Othello, but I knew where to go find the genealogy for Thomas Love going down. I couldn't find Othello. Then I went and looked at the actual paper. It was a completely different name. It was actually an Indian name with dash marks. Then I went to another one. It had 3 Indian names with dash marks, but it put 2 YT names. And I was like, why would you change? And I literally asked it. We're gonna go into. I'm gonna show you. I literally asked it. I said, why would you change the names completely? And blah blah blah. And it gave me all these apologies and reasons why it did it, stuff like that. Appreciate anybody coming in. Appreciate y'all joining. Everybody that showed up. If I missed you, my bad. What's up, Mingo? Man, there's a lot of people with Mingo in these in their names in these documents, in these letters, boss. A lot of people with it's like push to some Mingo and another something to Mingo. We'll find it actually. They're one of the three names that AI tried to change on me. One of the 3 names AI tried to change on me on purpose. Now, another part before we get to the names is right here. It says Levi Colbert. Levi Colbert, right? Now, ChatGPT put in here this line. It says, and secondly, that the burden of command might be removed off Levi Colbert on subject of having so entirely lost their confidence as illegible conduct. If something was illegible, you couldn't read it. As conduct had been productive. So they said as it so entirely lost their confidence. So he's saying that Levi Colbert lost their confidence, is what ChatGPT said. He said, yeah, they are the immigrants from Virginia, Carolina. So I'm gonna have to look into that. He said, are you giving the LLM instructions in a project before you begin providing these records? LLM, I'm not sure what that means, but I just be like transcribe. Now I say transcribe. I do say transcribe verbatim and do not substitute anything except for things that are illegible. I literally had to put that shit. Where I put that last? Why? I was like, man, I shouldn't even have to go that far. You know what I'm saying? Just, when I say transcribe, nigga, transcribe. Like, what you add and changing stuff for? I can't even find where I left it. A lot of times I'll just paste in. Here it is, right here. I said LLM or Chat GPT, DeepSeek. Oh, okay. Yeah, I haven't heard of LLM. This is the only one I really been using. But see right here, this is what I start putting in now. Transcribe verbatim and change nothing except what is not legible. And quit. I should put at the end and quit playing with me. So let me go down here. So just to show you. So they said, hey, remove Levi Colbert because they said they entirely lost their confidence. Large language model. Oh, okay. Yeah, I haven't heard of that. To be honest, like I'm a real big nerd on a lot of stuff, but I stopped looking into AI some time ago. Like I knew about everything when it was coming out, all the things. I even know how they train them and all this other stuff. But I guess you got to train yours in a sense. But I figured a simple job as transcribing wouldn't be that hard. But I haven't been using it, so I'm not up on the latest lingo or been looking into it. I've been more so on history a lot the last year and a half to 2 years. Well, probably over that, a little over that. But I used to be a whole lot more on what's going on in today's time. I don't even watch a lot of stuff in politics like I used to anymore. I need to. I don't want to say don't watch politics, but like I used to be on all kind of shit, man. So I'm with you. You do. I appreciate that, man. Yeah, I used to be on all kind of stuff, but once I started looking into this history, the history got way more interesting. I was getting bored with modern day. I'm almost done. I'm just rolling up, but I was getting bored with modern day shit because it was like, okay, here comes another WAR. Oh, okay, here comes another coup, a military coup happening in a country. Oh, okay, here comes another political propaganda campaign about X, Y, Z. Oh, okay, it was just like, all right, man, this shit ain't interesting no more. And then when it's like whatever, shit's gonna happen, man. At this point, what else can I look at? And then history got really important to me. So this is what it said. Now let's go to the letter. Let's go to the letter with it. What did it actually say about Levi Colbert? Because this is actually pretty important. It says Levi Colbert on the subject of his having secretly sold their country. Now, I know if I could read this, ChatGPT could have read that shit. That's why I was like, no. You didn't want me to read that. Now I'm going to have to go read every letter. And when I look, y'all, your boy done been through almost 400 letters in this goddamn thing. Now, all of these ain't letters. Some of them are transmission, like the papers that are like the front or the cover paper or whatever. But your boy been through 443 out of 803, okay? And now your boy got to go back through them because I don't even know if what I read was what I read because of ChatGPT. And I'm just like, oh my God, dude. Because I can't miss something like that. Now, don't get me wrong. In another document before, I think I got it saved. I did see where it said that Levi Colbert sold the land. He said, yep, you got to be prudent. Man, you know what? You got to use your own eyes. And the only time I'm going to use ChatGPT is to translate a document. And that kind of sucks too. Because now when you think about it, I used to use it all the time to translate books. And that's kind of hard now because I don't want to have to sit here and literally translate word by word and like fucking Google fucking, So I don't even know what's the best way to translate books from another language that's gonna give me the truth. I'm gonna have to hire a nigga that speaks Spanish or something. Said I've caught the skewing facts, or at least presenting them conveniently. See, and that's not a coincidence, because I guarantee you, if I was to ask you shit about us coming from Africa, or reading some documents that confirm our African existence, which is fake, it'll give me everything I need verbatim. You know what I'm saying? I'm trying to find out who else signed the sale documents with Levi. Yeah. You know what? I think. I think I might have those few people, but I have to double check, because I've been going through these, and yeah, they pretty much was like he sold off the country, and they didn't know. Let's actually go through what I have saved, so y'all can see, like, literally, these are all the letters your boy been going through, translating all the way up to here. Well, each row is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 on each row. And there's 1, 2, all these rows, you know what I'm saying? So your boy definitely done been through several. I don't think I did all 400. I think I did skip like 100 pages because it got boring. They kept talking about some of the same shit for a moment. Like somebody stole somebody's horse. And then next thing you know, they was talking about that forever. I was like, man, let me skip. Said I pressed ChatGPT and it said America is Africa. AI asked it if it was for Freudian slip. It said yes. It said America is Africa. Man, see, yeah, man. I'm telling you, it's hold on, y'all. I'm waiting on his response. I'll let you know as soon as I hear something. So yeah, I have some of these letters saved, and we'll go through the ones that I have saved and kind of discuss why I saved it, what it is. I probably have to reread to remember what the hell I saved it for. And then we're gonna read. Actually, we're gonna read this, and then we're gonna read the actual letter because I got both. So I saved this one. So let's read. Now this is from 1828. So I'm approaching that 1830 day, but notice it will talk about how a treaty. They were talking about the treaty. I want to say that they might have talked about it being signed, but possibly not yet. At this point, I know that they're talking about going to the other land of Oklahoma. They're talking about the disgust and that the Chickasaws have about it. They don't want to go, really. But they're kind of reluctant to. They're talking about money. They're talking about all kind of stuff. But let's see what this talks about. It says, "Sir, in obedience to your request, contained is in a letter from Colonel Thomas L. McKinney, dated at the War Department of Indian Affairs." That's probably why I saved it. Because people say, hey, I hope y'all know that the War Department, whatever, was turned into the Indian Affairs. Well, there you go right there. One, I already knew, because this whole time going back and forth in these letters, they were corresponding with the with the War Department. My bad. They would be like, your Indian agent, your humble servant, and actually they would call themselves humble servants to the fucking War Department. And you got to think they're Indian agents, but even though they're Indian agents, some of them have titles like major and colonel and shit like that. So we'll get to some of those. But you got these agents corresponding with the War Department. And now this is one of the first and one times I've seen it say War Department of Indian Affairs. Now we're going to read the letter to make sure, and I'm going to read the rest of this part to see if there's anything else in here. But that's likely why I saved this. I knew what I was reading, but I just wanted something concrete about it, So, okay, let's say. So do you think this is connected to Trump change Department of Defense to Department of War? I didn't know that. So you really got interrogated. Yeah, I didn't know he did that, but he would be going back to the original name. And to be honest, it gives him more of a proper a, a proper calling. Like, he is also discussing birthright citizenship. Yet about the birthright. My bad, y'all. Ooh. Yeah, TB came on up here the other day, or like last week, and we watched videos about the birthright citizenship, and excuse me, they were discussing it mostly applying to people who were Indians taxed or Indians not taxed. And back in the day, I didn't know Indians not. I thought Indians not taxed might have meant that you lived on a reservation and your allegiance was to a tribe and not to the. Well, that do have something. Allegiance does have something to do with it, but it wasn't necessarily completely that. It was really the fact that whether or not you were poor or rich. He said 10 a.m. is fine. He just said 10 a.m. is fine, comma. I told him you'll be there between 10 a.m. and 11 a.m., so whatever works for you. Great, thank you for being flexible, exclamation point. We will be there between 10 a.m. We'll be, I'll just say what would be there. All right, y'all, my bad. When the change of war is probably changed a long time. The connection stopped. Uh-oh. I hope it came back up. But yeah, I'm gonna have to. I don't know. I don't know why he did that. I hadn't checked on why he might have changed it, but it was called the Department of War or the War Department on here. And to be honest, I'd rather it be given like the name that it is, because they don't be defending. They be out there causing war. They don't be defending the damn thing. If you defending yourself, you just be chilling until somebody fuck with you. What's up, Frank? What's happening, boss man? Good morning, everybody. Everybody else joining in. So we're going over letters this morning. Chickasaw agency letters. So one thing is, I was telling people is, and this is the National Archive Records government website. One thing I was telling people is I gotta reread all of these letters. Like, I literally almost read through 400 of these letters. I think I skipped like 100 and some of them, but not a whole lot, because it got kind of redundant in the early years. But and I probably still will go back through those. But I was trying to hurry up and find things about the removal, because your Indian removal or your Trail of Tears, and I also wanted to see how much of a Trail of Tears was this? Was it all this crap going on? Like, and some of this stuff, man, like, we'll get to it. But it's so far things ain't looking like what they say. Now, if you would think if something major is going on, then they would be writing about it to the War Department, like, oh man, they're attacking. We need to go, this and that and the third. And they do at times, not when they attack, but really when they get scared, they be like, man, these people over here, these Indians over here talking about this, and then they go and attack us. Can y'all send some help? Can y'all send 50 troops? Because they some bitches or whatever. So, like, there are letters like this, and I'm gonna get into it, at some point. I'm gonna go through some of these letters that I've saved. But appreciate that. What's up, Feathered Chief, Grand Rising? Mm-hmm. So I'm gonna go over these letters that I've saved over some coming live streams. But yeah, I'm gonna have to go back. I'm gonna have to go back through and read them. To be honest, I'll probably go back through and reread these on live, at least the ones that I think were important, and then also read some other ones. I don't want to put y'all through some of the mundane stuff, because like I said, some of this stuff was just like, nigga done stole a horse, and now they've been complaining for several letters about this whole horse ordeal, and I ain't, but I can't, there's no table of contents, there's no index, these are letters, so it's just time consuming. But okay, so but as we were just looking at here, let's go back. Oh yeah, let's finish reading this. My bad. That's what we were doing. We already saw that they Chat GPT be fucking up the translations. But it says, in obedience to your request contained in a letter from Colonel Thomas L. McKinney, dated at the War Department of Indian Affairs, right? On the 19th, what's up, Sister Moon? Appreciate you. Appreciate you coming in. Thomas L. McKinney, dated at the War Department of Indian Affairs in the 19th of April last, I have the honor to report that, according to instructions, I have collected and submitted such proofs as the chiefs of the Chickasaws tend to furnish in support of the 7 principal charges referred to in this letter against Agent Major Benjamin F. Smith. So look at this right here. Chief KFC. So look at that right there. Notice how Indian Agent Major Benjamin F. Smith. So again, like I told you, these Indian agents are with the War Department. There ain't nothing but colonels and majors that are here. That McKinney's surname is everywhere. Yeah. I'm gonna have to look into. I haven't looked into McKinney, but one thing you will notice too, is a lot of the names that are the Indian agents seem of an Irie or Irish background. There's the McKinneys in here. There's some. I can't remember. We'll get to some. There's several of them in here, but we'll get to them. It said I found some Chickasaw ancestors recently with the name Colbert. Oh yeah, you will. You will, Sister Moon, and many people will. I don't have any Colberts in my tree, but my love side did supposedly marry a Colbert, and when they were in cahoots. But I believe, I'm gonna have to double check. I believe the Colberts came in. I don't know. It's kind of hard. Scottish as well. Yeah, McQueen, McKay. Yeah. Oh yeah, McKay's in here, I think. But yeah. It's hard to say if the Colberts took our Colbert surname and then came in, or if they came and actually married in, or just took some women and made them their wives and appropriated their name across some of our folks. It's kind of hard to tell. When you look at the records, they're going to say that they were married. They're going to say that the Colberts married, like one of mine married Lucina Love. I think it was, I can't remember which Colbert married one of my love's peoples. But they ain't connected to me, though. It was one of my love's sisters. So it would have been an aunt. So I guess it would have been like a great uncle or some shit. James Logan was the father of Sally. Yeah, James Logan Colbert. His name is mentioned in here too once. All those Colberts are mentioned in these letters. Makes you wonder, because you got to think they going back and forth with the War Department. It wasn't the Bureau of Indian Affairs at the time. So you got the Colberts going back and forth with the War Department. Sally married into the Love family. Sally Colbert was married to Thomas Love as well as Emma Holter. So that's where the Colberts kind of, but also some of one of the children of Emma Holter, which was Lucina, or Lucinda or Lucina, she married a Colbert. And the reason why that's interesting is because when she married a Colbert, she and that Colbert stayed as Indians as normal Chickasaw Indians of the tribe, whereas William Love, he ends up becoming a freedman. He got married to a black chick, and he ends up becoming a freedman. There's a whole ordeal, man, and so when we're looking at these letters, you're gonna notice these names. I've only seen a love in here one time so far out of all these letters, and that's really what I was looking for, right? But the Colberts are all up in this bitch. All the Colberts: Levi Colbert, George Colbert, James Logan Colbert is mentioned, and I think one or two other Colberts are mentioned in here. But let's get to it. So it says the Chickasaw Chiefs tend to furnish in support of the 7 principal charges referred to in the letter against their agent, Major Benjamin F. Smith, by them, with other additional charges, which you will see, which testimony being arranged under each charge as directed as follows. So they're basically about to give, the Chiefs are about to explain their issues with the agent. And it says, hey, number one, that their agent does not attend to their wants and sufferings by enforcing the intercourse law in the prosecution of offenders in stealing their horses. So again, this is like, this is again like people talking about stealing horses. What's up, Candace? Appreciate you coming in. Stealing horses, and I had to jump back down, you know what I'm saying? 'Cause I was like, y'all back on this horse topic, but this is one of the complaints that they said there. So let's jump to the next one that I had that thought that was interesting. So this is the next one I said, okay, this is kind of interesting. So here you have Major Levi Colbert. Keep that in mind. Major Levi Colbert. Now let's see if that's actually said in the letter. Or because ChatGPT be bullshitting and changing names on me. See, this, actually, we're about to get to this. So you see where it says right here? Ishumacha, or Ishumaha, or Ishumacha. That's one, and it would change the name. It changed the name to like Levi Colbert or some shit like that. I forgot what it was. We'll find it. Here's another one. Here's a Mingo for you, Mingo. I think that's Tishomingo. I think that's Tishomingo. Yeah, and I've heard of Tishomingo. Now, either Tishomingo, I think Tishomingo, Oklahoma is a county, but I've heard of Tishomingo. But they have it separated there, right? And Levi Colbert. There's Levi Colbert. Okay, so let's go here. Let's go over here. But you know what? The Chiefs say that they have, let's say, it is said that the Chiefs confident. I'm wondering if I got this in the right succession, in the right. Either way, I'm going to have to reread all these letters. Because to be honest, I don't. See, there's James Colbert listed, next stated. I'm going to have to reread the letters, man, because I just don't trust ChatGPT no more. I literally think it's done changed all kind of shit. All kind of names have been changed. Like when I showed y'all earlier, it said that Levi Colbert secretly sold the country, but then it changed it to like Levi Colbert, and they were something disappointed with blah blah blah. And I'm like, wait a minute, why would you leave out this secretly sold out the country, ChatGPT? I'm done. I've been paying this motherfucker $20 a month. I'm about to call. I should be able to get a damn refund. Okay, anyway. We'll see why. We're going to read why I saved it. What's up, Tabitha? Good morning. Grand Rising. She said Mingo. I think it's spelled Mingo, M-I-N-G-O. But some people might spell it that way, too. I have seen that word before, Mingo. And I don't know if that's a mispronunciation or misspelling of the word or just a completely different word, but I've seen that word before, too. So it says, okay. Man, because I want to see where this is. It says the Chiefs say. See, there's another Mingo push. I don't even see anything that starts with it says the Chiefs say. See, that's what's pissing me off. And typically, after when I screenshot or save the letter, I screenshot the translation right after it. But sometimes I may have forgotten, and I may have gotten them mixed up on once or twice. But okay, let's just read it, and we'll see why I saved it. So it says, the Chiefs say that they have Major Levi Colbert stick to nothing. Oh, I'm sorry. The Chiefs say that it said the chiefs say they have. So sometimes it's going to be weird because it's trying to, read these letters and it's going to be all. But I'm pretty sure it says the chiefs say that Major Levi Colbert sticks to nothing and does not believe him, and do not believe him, though the interpreter states that they as chiefs have not any confidence in him, neither in the agent nor in their friend, that they remember him for bringing them to their friend and a good agent. And now because when he first came into their nation and afterwards in conversation was money in this, and that he had advised Joseph, a simple-minded person, that would be from his friend among them, he told them he was going to make them a great nation, and that he had no object, nor was he willing to do so. Basically, in a sense, what they're saying is this Levi Colbert talking about came to them, they can't trust him. Talking about he done came out ever since he first came to the nation, he talking big, talking about he got money, talking about he gonna make this big nation or whatever, and basically it ain't happening. What else CR the Great said is definitely an Algonquin word. What you talking about, the Mingo? It said the Mingo spelling varies on the region, colony, proximity. That's what I thought, because I thought I seen Mingo as well before, and it might be whatever similar. He said that's my grandfather's name from South Carolina. It's Algonquin in the origin. I'm gonna have to look into it. Because what's he doing down in the Chickasaw area? But Chickasaw wasn't too far from, somewhat not too far from where the Algonquin is. I have to double check what Algonquin was. I haven't looked into the Algonquin history. Yeah, it means bench chief or bear clan. Mingo. And most of these, there's a lot of chiefs in here with these things, with these names. So let's keep going. It says that instead of trying to make a great people, they believed that he was endeavoring to deprive them of money and lands. So think about this. They said Major Levi Colbert came in here talking big with money and that he's going to make them a great people. But ever since he done came in here, they believe his whole reason was coming was to deprive them of money and land. And again, we just read a letter later that said that he secretly sold their land. Okay? But let's see. Instead of trying to make them a great people, that he was endeavoring to deprive them of money and lands, and to dispossess them of those valuable privileges which they, as a weak, independent nation, have heretofore enjoyed. That he told them when he first came to their nation that he had not come to make money, it was for honor, and that they saw their children starve around them and unalive in their houses because of hunger, and say that he was the man that had raised them to a state of prosperity and greatness. Black Hawk said that the council he heard before, it was an honor that he had acted, but it was for money. So as you can see, it's almost like they basically say he tricked us. He come up in here talking about this money talk, but I think he's trying to sell, dispossess us of our country and our privileges and our nation or whatever. And he's taking advantage of us because we're a little weak, which I don't know if I believe that unless they were weakened at this time, because that's why I'm going to have to read the actual letter, because ChatGPT could have just made this shit up. And to be honest, now that I done looked at some of the shit that it done made up, it could have made this up. But the reason why I say this whole part about weak is because the Chickasaws were known for being tall and being warriors. And like my ancestor, Ali Kohio, they had unalived 380 French warriors that out of 400 that came up there to unalive them or whatever, in a war or whatever, and they saved a little 5-year-old girl and brought her back. She grew up. He got married to her. Long story short, I'm also descendant of that whole thing. But they were known as warriors. And weak wasn't really a whole ordeal, wasn't really a thing, unless they had been weakened through many battles, and now at this time they were kind of going through something. Or maybe they're talking about weak as maybe they were going through a drought or something, and they just wasn't getting food. But I just don't see it. I'm going to have to actually read the letter again. But long story short, they say that basically Major Levi Cobra still came there, was basically looking for money. He said he was going to help them, bring them up from greatness. He was doing a little something, but really he was just doing it for the money, not for the honor. So that was pretty important. Now I got this one saved. We'll see what. Okay. Lili Liskadichi. Now every time I see chi, I think she. You know, like Tallahatchie, or Tallahatchie, or like she, like y'all say the Amaru she or whatever, the she people and shit like that. I always be thinking about that. Hichiti, something like that. Gishi, in a sense. A lot of that chi is in a lot of words, and I haven't. I need to look more into that. He said they sent General Jeffrey Amherst. So yep, that's what your aunt told you. You're talking to Tony. Weren't the Chickasaws deeply melanated? Very much. They'll try to say they wouldn't today, of course, but yeah, Chattahoochee. And I think the word Shatta is the first part of Chattahoochee. Now we say Chatta, and actually that now you know what, that's funny because that's so funny, y'all. Let me see. I'm gonna show y'all. Cause I was like, why did this dude keep calling why does he keep pronouncing the word this way?
So it's happening.
But now it makes sense.
Have now been recognized.
St. Tammany Parish is home to the descendants of the Muskegon-speaking mound builders, the Chatta and the Chafunk.
The Chatta, you hear that?
The Chatta Creek. And whereas,
So what?
Why wouldn't it pause?
the Chatta in
Now you hear he said chatter the whole time. I swear to y'all, the whole time. It took till just now. Now I knew Shatta was part of the word Chattahoochee, but I was like, why does he keep pronouncing it Chatta? Because they say Chattahoochee, but it's really Chattahoochee, or something like that. You know what I'm saying? But it was Shatta, and then Hoochie, however you want to say Hoochie or who she is likely pronounced. But yeah, that's why he can't. Now that I look down and I'm just like Chattahoochee, and I hadn't, but I just remember he kept saying Chatta, and I'm like, why do you keep pronouncing it that way? I know you done talked to Chief Warhorse, she done told you Shatta, but they can't pronounce the shit like Shatta like that. So since they can't pronounce Shatta like they say Chatta, and that goes to show how our words and pronunciations and changes of spellings and stuff are pretty much going to fit their dialect or whatever you want to call it, their voice structure. I don't even know what the hell you call it. But the word Shatta is definitely in there. Chahtha or whatever. That's Shatta, and then Hoochie is the other part of the word. So yeah, that's crazy. That's crazy, man. And for those who don't know, he said 500 years later they still give exactly, man. What the hell is wrong with y'all? I think it's it's really just they can't. I feel like just like it's like the way that we talk is the original language. Like people have said that, and like they're saying chatta, we say shatta. They can't say that. We say nigga. You know what I'm saying? Like, that nigga crazy. But they got to say it with the almost hard ER. They try to say it with the A, and then it sounds weird. Every time they pronounce any of our words, any of our slang, even if they say dog, I'm like, what up, dog? What up, dog? You know what I'm saying? We sound normal. But when they say dog, I can't even do how they say dog. You know, hey, dog. It's something weird. You know what I'm saying? It's a whole completely different species and being. And that also goes to say this. Like, That's why I say they don't speak no reason. They speak civilized. Yes, yeah. If civilized is living in a cave, it comes from living out of a cave. We them civilized folks, for damn sure. But like, it goes to show. What was I about to say? That like, dang, I just lost it. I lost it. Oh, it goes to show the difference between us and Africans, right? Because Africans can live amongst YT people in any country and they will sound, and not even one generation, nigga. They will sound exactly like a motherfucking Crocodile Dundee Australian. They'll sound like a Mary Poppins ass fucking European. They'll sound like a goddamn any goddamn thing. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's what's so crazy is that they will sound exactly like who they are. We've been living around these motherfuckers for however long they've been over here. They say over 300, 400 years, but to be honest, I'm starting to feel like it's more late 1800s, like everybody say with the whole incubator babies and stuff like that, but that's just deep, right? But when you think about it, we've still been around these motherfuckers for at least 4, 5 generations, 6, 7 generations, if not longer. And we still ain't picked up that bullshit. Like, we don't talk like them folks. You know what I'm saying? And the fact, he said we won't conform. We never will. And in fact, most of us, not all of us, went to schools with mostly just our people. It was predominantly us. Now, my kids, I put them through like, you know, and some of y'all might be a product of that too. My kids, I had put them through the suburb schools, so they ended up around some of them. But even when you go to them suburb schools, they end up separating themselves and still ended up around all the black kids, so called, you know. So like, and you think about that too. You can put us in a school full of them, and there only be a few of us, but we're gonna find each other and group up, and still do our own thing, and still somehow propagate black culture through that motherfucker. You know what I'm saying? While the white folks are still trying to act like us at the school. Anyway, let me get off that. It's the inauthenticity. Mm-hmm. It always come through. They kill out. That's real. That's why they use the Moriscos and Moranos to impersonate. Yeah. So like when you get the Spaniards coming over here with the Moors or some Africans or wherever they got them from, and they mix together, they make a copper-colored looking person that will confuse you, you know, and you think they look good. All right, then, little mix, little something. That's what's up. But a lot of them be crazy, and I've heard that too. Have you ever heard that mixed kids be crazy? I've heard that some of the mixed girls be a little crazy, and if I have any mixed girls in here, I'm sorry. Yeah. But I heard that's what I heard, okay? I'm just telling you what I heard. I still fuck with y'all. You know, you can come back to this side in a few generations, at least your offspring. Said they only sent men. They came from the North European as well, yeah. And rape and murder. Well, yeah, to a degree. You know, to a degree. I don't think they was doing too much to us because they want us to believe that they was doing all this grape and unaliving, but we're too strong of a people to allow that to happen in mass, and I've always believed that. Like the whole stories where they're like, "Oh, we had him on the plantation, whipping him in front of everybody, and they might even grape somebody in front of everybody just to show their power." Yeah, I don't like, nah, these people, especially when you look at how they actually look. Like, you'd have to have us surrounded by 50 caliber rifles, niggas with white T-folks with 50 caliber rifles telling us to stay put while you do that before some of us not come over there and take your head off and unalive ourselves in the process if that's the case. In fact, you can have 50 caliber rifle men around us, and I'm probably still gonna run over there and try to stop that motherfucker. You ain't finna just degrade our folks to the point of no return. I just don't see it happening. And as the more I look into these stories, and I ain't getting on to you at all. I'm just saying this out loud, but But the more I look into these stories, deep down, and the more I look into these stories of grape and stuff, like there was this one story I did a video on, and we'll get back. We're gonna read this, but there's this one story I did a video on. It was called "The Richest Black Woman in the World" at the time. I was just going through the newspapers. Randomly, I saw another article next to the article I was reading. It said "The Richest Black Woman in the World." So I was like, "What?" And it was like in like the early 1900s or something like that. But she had like a wealth of like $800,000 or something. At the time, it must have been like the richest thing for a black woman. So like, long story short, she had inherited. They say that she inherited the money from her slave master father, who graped. You know, right? They always got to throw the story. It's never just. You almost never just get a story of, oh, he just loved the woman, this black woman and whatever. When you get back to that, so he said, with Sam reading this info on Levi, the term Indian giver, anyone remember that? Oh, I didn't think about that Levi for real. Coming up, he might have been the motherfucker one to start that whole damn thing. But like, it was called The Richest Black Woman in the World. And they said that basically after he graped the slave, she ended up unaliving while giving birth to the girl. And so he felt so bad about it that he ended up putting the girl through school, the best schools, and loving the girl and this and that and whatever because of that. And then at the end he ends up leaving all this money to her. And not his other folks or other family members or whatever the case may be. And so the thing was, I was like, okay, so why would he do that? If he did, like, if you grape somebody, you don't care about the offspring. You didn't even care about when you was graping them. You know what I'm saying? And then when they unalive, what? All the ties to them are gone. You know what I'm saying? Well, why would you care about the child? And then on top of that, then you take the child in, and then you give all your money to him. And then the further I looked into that story, I ended up finding an article that said that he actually was in love with the black woman, whatever, so-called, but Indian, right? And that, I can't remember I got a video on it, and I can find it for y'all, but I'll probably do a whole live stream about it, actually. But, like he ended up, leaving all the money to her. But then what you start to notice is, now this story should have just went away. Right? It's just a random story. Richest black woman in the world. It made the newspapers a lot. There was a lot of people in the newspapers talking shit about her. There was this one newspaper that was like, the richest black woman in the world just moved into such and such on 23rd Street. And the people of that complex wish to tell her that they prefer her room to her company. And I said, like, they prefer her room to her company. I said, is that like a pretentious way of saying, get your bitch ass out, we don't want you here? I was like, damn, I said, first of all, why are you even announcing that the richest black woman in the world just moved somewhere? Like, I guess that's kind of like now, like paparazzi in a sense, but not necessarily. The way this was done in pure malice. But I can see like paparazzi being like, oh, Michael Jackson just moved into such and such a state or something, right? Okay. But I was still like, why the hell are they announcing this shit? You know what I'm saying? And in the time of heightened slavery, I don't want you to know where the richest black woman in the world lives, okay? Now, she ends up being the richest black woman in the world. She ends up getting a place, I think, in Atlanta, and there's a college or an HBCU that she has a house or something on that's historic. So this became a big thing. She did a lot with her money. She ended up getting married. Another thing, she ended up getting married to a black dude later. And that really made people mad in the newspapers and her family. And she ended up getting unalived early. And I believe her family unalived her in order to get that money. It's a different story, but she ends up, I believe she was either poisoned or whatever. I have to go back into the story because I'm trying to remember. It's been a minute. I'm going to do a whole live stream on it. I might do that later today because, to be honest, I ain't got shit to do today. It's too cold. The nigga ain't going to be doing a goddamn thing. I do got a podcast client. But I might still do that later. But yeah, my bad. I might have missed what y'all was saying. But, like, So like these grape stories, and then when you every time, and the same thing with the slaves. It's like if there was anybody black that came over with any voyager, they must have been a slave. If there was a Moor helping them navigate, he was an enslaved Moor that helped them navigate. If there was a, if it was a, if it was some Spaniards that said, or some French people that said they had some black folks on there, they had to be enslaved. And it's just like, why do people want us to believe that every nation in this motherfucking planet went and made pit stops to Africa for slaves before they came to this bitch, just to this place? Not when they went to all these voyages to other countries and other places. They didn't take no Africans over there. They didn't whatever. But it's like, okay, but that's their way of trying to throw a blanketed excuse for why there's any black person coming out, being here or being with anybody, and people believe it. A lot of times, people will say these talking points on these live streams. You know that the Lucas Vasquez. What's up, boss? Yeah. Yeah, I'm on this live stream. No, I'll hit you back. All right. So confused. So yeah, so like, and you know what? Let me see if I can share this to Wanagi. Y'all share this to Mr. Wanagi. Let me see if I can share this to Mr. Wanagi. I saw he was back in the streets. Let me see. Wanagi. See, but it won't never let me pull him up whenever I go to send it to somebody. But I know he's back in these streets. How can I share it to Mr. Wanagi, y'all? Because I really would like to go over my MODOK information if he was to bring his ass in here. But I'm gonna get back on this. I wanted to try to share this to him, but yeah, I don't know. It's like it only allows me to share it to friends or something, and I damn sure don't want to go follow him. Well, really, I'd be following him back. Well, okay, so let's get back into this. So yeah, a lot of those stories about grape and stuff like that, man, like in the slave, it's the same thing with slave stories. They take it and they blanket it, and so any relationship between a YT and a black person before a certain time frame must have been grape, and that's what they put in your mind. Must have been, right? And that way you won't ask questions. As soon as you see a YT person, and we see this, people will do their genealogy and they be like, "Yep, I found the slave master. He graped her," and we like, how did you know he graped her? Well, I mean, you know, that's why we here. And they be like, well, did it say that they were married? Yeah, it said something like that. Oh, okay. So it said that they were married, but you said that they was graped? Yeah, you know how they do. you know how they do. They be graping and marrying people. Yeah, that makes sense. It is after the laws is passed after. Yeah, so think about that too. And think about the laws. It must have been great because maybe they wasn't married because you couldn't get married. So if you couldn't get a marriage on paper, think about that. Y'all think they make it seem like they was gonna unalive you or whatever, and you could have been unalive possibly in some places, but in many cases, it was just a law on the books to scare you or to just be official. But so if and I'll say it's like if you're living in a home with a YT person and a black person, so-called black or Indian, right? If y'all living together for the next 10, 15 years, 20 years, but y'all just don't have a piece of paper saying that y'all doing that, does that mean y'all not married? Y'all done have 5 kids together, living in the same roof. Does that mean you're not married? No, it just means you couldn't get a piece of paper from the actual governing body at the time, right? Because they just came into your area, depending on when they came into your area from the colonies. So you couldn't get a piece of paper from the governing body at the time stating that you was married to this YT person. But it doesn't mean that y'all wasn't married, you know? And it's the same thing, too, with owning land. Like, our people were already on the land. But when YT people come in to the land, right, they make treaties, make some people leave, some people decide they're gonna stay. They be like, well, you can't own land, but they don't force you off your land, right? But you're still there on it. So what does that mean? Well, it just means you don't have a deed or whatever the hell, title deed, whatever the fuck, to your land. Doesn't mean you don't own it. Doesn't mean it ain't yours. It just means you don't have the piece of paper because the governing body at the time didn't allow you to get one. Now after 1865, they say, oh, black people can own land, and then all of a sudden black people got land like crazy. Do you think it's because they all went somewhere and put up their bread that they just got out of slavery with? Or do you think all of a sudden they can just go get the piece of paper that they didn't get before? And now you own the land on paper, of course. But now it looks like black people never owned land because you couldn't own land in the past. So you was just a slave that didn't own land and blah blah blah. But you see, it's like what I'm noticing with these laws and these things is that these white folks write these things with future intentions of manipulation. Future intentions of manipulation. My bad, y'all. I'm about to start reading this again. I'm looking for my lighter and I don't know what I did with it. Oh, here's another one, though. With future, because and I say that for many different reasons. You'll find, like in 1860, they made a whole new slave law, that slave code, but 1865 was just right around the corner. And you also got to think about it, too. Let's think about this. Let me show you this. I know I'm off, but Civil War dates. What was the dates of the Civil War? The Civil War was going on between 1861 and 1865. That's really interesting because it's like right before. I hope I don't lose my spot. I done already started scrolling. Slave. I could have Googled that, actually. In fact, I'm probably going to find it faster if I Google it. Slave Code of 1860. And you got to think, man. They all of a sudden come out with this slave code in 1860. Now, do you think they wasn't about to go... They didn't know that they was about to go through a whole civil war? It just started. The whole war for independence and slavery and blah, 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 or whatever the case may be. You think they didn't know that? They don't rewrote the little laws for it. And what's also coincidental is in 1866 is when you get all of these treaties. Let's do this. $1866. I'm sure these are all gonna pretty much be up in here. So you got the Seminole Treaty of 1866. Now notice there were Seminole treaties prior, 1832, 1833. You know, a treaty is a contract, and there was a treaty. Now they call these agreements versus the treaty. Now treaties are important because they are as strong as the Constitution is. Constitution, treaties, then local and state, federal and state laws and shit. But the Constitution and treaties number one, pretty much. And so all of a sudden they changed the treaty in 1866. Now I want you to know, we ain't gonna get into it, but these treaties and the treaties prior to this, because there were some treaties prior to this, they did not mention, I think there might have been one or two before this, but they did not mention anything about black people, slaves, freedmen, or any of that kind of language. It was all about Indians or whatever. It's not until you get to 1866 that all of a sudden they're writing language about a freedman. Now, this is one thing I'll show you. I can just do it all from this page. The Choctaws and Chickasaws, they signed the treaty in 1866. The Creek, they signed a new treaty in 1866. The Cherokee, they signed one in 1866. The Seminole, 1866. The Delaware, 1866. The Chippewa, 1866. Now, why is that something that shouldn't happen? Like, you might be like, well, Sam, everybody, they was just all united and getting their treaty game on, right? I want you to notice this. Treaties are random and through random years. 1832, 1833, no other treaty until about, even the Creeks had a random treaty 1856. Creeks had one in 1845. Why am I saying this? Let me see if I can get you some more dates before I say it. Well, I'm going to just say it. Treaties typically happen either after a major event or maybe when people start encroaching on too much land and you like, all right, if y'all going to be here, well, there needs to be some kind of treaty going on because we're going to fuck somebody up, whatever, y'all on our land, or it might have been an actual WAR that happens that fully goes out, and after the battle, they make a treaty. They want to stop the fighting. There's reasons why treaties happen, and they're going to happen based upon random things that happen to them. Not everybody coming together all at the same time writing treaties. And what's funny about all of these 1866 treaties? Every single one of them includes something about black people, Africans, or slaves. Now, what's funny about all the treaties prior to these with each of these tribes, because I looked them up, they don't mention Africans, slaves, freedmen, none of that shit. So what am I getting at? What does this mean? What does this mean? Well, 1866 was the final straw in separating you into a classification of just being a black person, a freedman, the last of the Indians being reclassified, because the other ones would have already been reclassified. Those who stayed on their lands in the east and those who stayed on their lands in the south and other areas would have been reclassified and counted on the census already as a Negro or a black person. But in 1866, all of these people had already moved to Oklahoma. All of these tribes, pretty much, most of them, if not all of them. I can't remember if the Delawares. I think the Delawares too. But I know for sure the Seminoles, Cherokee, Creek, Choctaw, Chickasaw, and I believe the Chippewa too. They all had moved to Oklahoma at this time. Now, why is that important? When you really look at it, you think that we're fighting to keep what am I trying to say? Those who went to Oklahoma, I can't tell you exactly what their reasons were. But I will say this. They did know at some point you would be counted as an Indian still. It was Indian land, right? They knew that the land that they was on previous was going to become the United States nation. So going to Oklahoma, they said, I'm going to still be an Indian. It's almost like fighting to keep your name. Even though you're losing your land in order to keep your name. Almost like today. We don't want to get rid of the name structure. We know who we are. We know we American Indians. We know our tribes, this and then the third. And we don't want to get rid of that. And the people who all went to Oklahoma were forced, and not really forced, but agreed in some cases and stuff like that. Got swindled and agreed in some cases and got swindled in other situations to go to Oklahoma. But what you see is they force all of these Indians from, let's go to the Indian map to get a visual. Indian Territory map, Library of Congress. So I ain't gotta do all that. Okay, so this is a good visual. This is a perfect visual because what we're looking at here is the map between 1600 and 1800. Okay, before they go westward from the colonies. So this would have been all your lands: Choctaw, Chickasaw, Cherokee, Muskogee, all this other stuff, right? Delaware, Shawnees, Illinois, Ottawas, Yamasees. Nothing is over here in Oklahoma. Don't get me wrong, though. Somebody was there in Oklahoma. Okay, people were here in Oklahoma. Don't, you know. But either way, as of right now, this would have been just random territory, right? So what they did was they forced random through their expansion of immigration, kept bringing people in. They want you to. It wasn't just all wars. They also kept it was some wars, but it was a bunch of immigration. Kept bringing people in. And they need more room for settlers, more room. They keep taking more land. So at some point, we made a treaties with them saying we want to keep our lands forever. Now that goes into the land patents. Why the land patent says it goes to your heirs forever. I actually have a letter in here, which we'll get to, that actually says that the chiefs stated that they wanted this land to go to them and them forever. Okay, I saved that. But what am I getting to? So the white tea people keep coming in and they force all these Indian tribes, as many of them, to go to Oklahoma or stay. Those that stayed became United States citizens, unless they had some kind of patch of reservation land, and typically those reservations are typically for the other folks. But don't get me wrong, I haven't researched everybody's tribes. Some people could have gotten a small little patch of reservation or something, because I can't speak on all of them, because everybody wasn't part of the 5 civilized tribes, like the Algonquins and Shinnecox and some of those. I don't think they ended up in Oklahoma. Some of them might, like Seneca. The Senecas were in Oklahoma. They got a little patch of land out there, I saw. But I don't want to blanket everybody, right? But I believe their goal was to move so many of them into Oklahoma. Promise them you can keep that. That's going to forever be Indian territory. Everybody became states all around, and Oklahoma, I believe, was one of the last to become a state, besides like Alaska or some shit. And then you start to wonder, why was it last to become a state? And what does becoming a state do? Well, becoming a state forces everybody that was in that Indian territory to now be under the jurisdiction of the United States and the federal government. Or United States, but United States federal government. And also of the state, in a sense. Now, they fight against that. They want to be sovereign on their lands. They should be able to follow their own rules and laws. And, I think there's some battle between that, and they might even do it in some cases. But that's the main thing, because what happens is once they do that, now they can classify everybody in that motherfucker as something different than an Indian or whatever they want to classify you as. And what they start classifying you as, well, first they get you to sign on the rolls as a freedman. And the same year they did all of these treaties, so think about this. The same year, I guess I must have closed. Oh, no, it's over here. The same year they did all these treaties around 1866 and started writing in that language about being freedmen or whatever. Not that same year. Actually, is it the same year? I want to say the same year. No, not the same year. Years after that, they then start instituting freedmen language in the Dawes Rolls. Now, they set up the Freedmen's Bureau right here after this. That's when the Freedmen's Bureau is set up. Now, people start writing the Freedmen's Bureau because they needed help. It was for disputes and things, but it's also called the Freedmen's Bureau of Refugees and something. But it also had to deal with refugees. You got to ask, who were the refugees? Were they the Indians who were kind of in a refugee status? Or are they talking about the immigrants that came here? Not 100% sure, but I'm pretty sure it's more along the lines of the Indians being the refugees, because we would have been like a refugee from an Indian tribal war. So, like, let's say there was an Indian tribal war and you were a refugee and you don't had to leave your state to another state, you'd be a refugee. And you need help in a dispute between a so-called slave master or employer, or whatever, you'd contact them. Or there's many reasons why you would contact the Freedmen's Bureau. Okay, but all of that stuff happens around this time. That freedman language, let's call them that. But also, then they start the Dawes Rolls, and the Dawes Rolls signs you up as a freedman. We need to put this on paper. Okay, and now you're signing people up on paper, but you enticing them with lands and land allotments, even though they already kind of was on the land, but okay, whatever. Dawes Rolls is gonna give you land allotments. So some people we went there, whatever, but we would get certain things, but we would lose out on certain things. So let me show you what I mean by losing out on certain things. And many of y'all have seen this, but you accept that freeman language, then all of a sudden you accept the status of being a slave. And accepting that status will cause you to lose certain claims.
Now, nearly 200 years later, comes the $56 million payment from the federal government to compensate the tribe for those lost Florida lands. But the Black Seminoles can't share in it because the government and the tribe say they were slaves of the Red Seminoles back then, and as slaves could not have owned land.
But everybody knows that the Black Seminoles were not slaves. In fact, did I transfer those pictures over here? If not, I need to. Oh yeah, I need to put those photos over here. Oh no, here's some. That's one. I need to put those photos over here. Let me grab them real quick. Plus, I'm gonna show y'all these photos. Now, yeah. Now, these were your Seminole Indians. All black, all badass, all on horses, trooped up, ready to knock a nigga head off. These were your Seminoles. So, like these are your Seminoles, okay? Standing in formation. These are your Seminoles, okay? Ready to knock you off. So they want you to believe. Now these were your other Seminoles, y'all. Okay? Look. Florida Memory Archives. So they want us to believe that these people had these people enslaved. That's the narrative they want you to think. And they want you to think, now, even though they want you to think that, they know, watch this, they know it's the other way around. I wish I had a way to search I might have a way to search my motherfucking, my whatchamacallits. Right here.
Documents their close relationship. Blacks became chiefs, signed treaties, and served on the tribal council. They intermarried. They were equals, Opala says, and the Indians depended on them as warriors and interpreters.
So the Indians depended on them as warriors and interpreters. Now, they were the Indians, which is the bullshit, right? Let me go back up here. They were the Indians, which is the bullshit, but they want you to believe that the other people in the photographs. So the problem with them, the problem they have with the Seminoles is the Seminoles were still independent and around a long time up until 1856. So they have photographs a lot of being them. You know what I mean? Doing their thing. So you can find what a Seminole really looks like and what they were, how they were fighting and whatever, as well as how they were dressed in other forms other than just the fighting. So this is their fighting outfits, but at the same time, you can find them. I'll show you. You can find them like Billy Bowlegs dressed up like this. You know what I'm saying? Let me put all of these in that folder real quick before I forget. Yeah, so you can find photographs of them because the camera was well out by that time. Whereas some of our tribes kind of were in the earlier period. Now you can find some photographs of our folks, like how we have one of either Sally or Imahota, but you definitely find a lot more of them. So what they want you to, they're literally telling us that, well, we know for a fact that, of course, these people are not gonna be slaves to these people. These are your other Seminoles now. These people could never hold us as a slave. Now, quit playing games, right? So this right here goes to prove. Right here says Seminole Indian Village, blah, blah, blah. So it's 100% proof, one, that these some Spaniards, two, that we wouldn't have been their slave, but three, that the only thing that makes them slaves technically is the fact that they signed up for the freedmen paperwork. Watch. That's why he'll say this right here. And they all put that together at the same time on those treaties.
If you had any black blood in you whatsoever, you were a freedman.
So it didn't matter how much Indian blood you had. Just
Right.
Any black blood.
Right.
You went on a separate roll.
Right.
And on the black Seminole roll, it doesn't list that you have any Indian blood.
That is correct.
So basically what you got is a conspiracy. They're conspiring to not only write you out of the tribe, put you into a reclassified state with the rest of the folks, because everybody else had been classified as a slave or a head of household. You were either a slave, a head of household, or a free colored person if you had the papers. But what if you didn't have the papers? What if they just got there after 1803, set up counties, and hadn't really gave you the chance to get whatever freedom paperwork it is by the time the census came around? Well, by the time the census came around, they'd have to mark you as something in the family. And in the family, you would likely be listed as a slave under the head of household. You would have free status if you had the paperwork, but if you ain't got that, you'd be a slave. They didn't have a category for kids or something else or whatever. So, anyways, these people were already classified in a slave status. Oklahomans were not. They were living in Indian territory. They had moved from 1830 to here while y'all were being classified in the 1840 census, in the 1850 census, in the 1860 census. And then by the time the bullshit happens, we thinking we're going to be able to keep this land in Oklahoma, stay in our little sovereign state. They go through this whole bullshit ass civil war, which everything happens in a secession. They removed folks in 1830 to Oklahoma and many other folks in different times. They all of a sudden write some so-called slave codes. And in the slave codes, they write certain clauses. Let's read one of these clauses. Let me show y'all. They start writing certain clauses. Let's go to this one. But there might be one before or after there. Let's see. Nope, right here. Like this one. I came right to it. In African, admitting his ancestors to have been slaves is not a citizen of the United States. And it says, hey, the plaintiff, now they're writing this in 1860. There weren't there were some slave laws and slave codes, and I was looking through them. I need to get back on that. But mostly Harrison's law was a completely different thing. Anybody can be enslaved, white tea folks or blacks or anybody. And anybody can buy those slaves too. A black person can buy one of those white tea slaves according to Harrison's law. And you can whip them, sell them, all that stuff. But I was going through some other ones. I need to look at the Code Noir, but it was in French. The original one, I can probably find the translations, but whatever. Long story short, I don't really see hardly too many like federal documents like that of codes and laws, and I may have to keep looking, but I'm getting to, if there aren't any, then you got to wonder, why in 1860 did you rush to put this in the legislation, knowing the Civil War was going to be freeing up some so-called slaves, right? And then knowing y'all was going to make these 1866 treaties, because y'all didn't conspire that in just 1 year. Y'all was really thinking about that for a minute with Albert Pike, okay? And that's a whole nother thing, which we talked about. And then all of a sudden, what was the last thing? All of a sudden something. But either way, yeah, and all of a sudden when they sign you up as freedmen on the Dawes Rolls, you have officially accepted the status, at least the last of you, and now all of you, in a sense, are admitting to have came from Africa as slaves, which allows you not to be able to sue in court. Watch. It says the plaintiff, having admitted by his demeanor to the plea in abatement that his ancestors were imported from Africa and sold as slaves, he is not a citizen of the state of Missouri, according to the Constitution of the United States. Now, this is taken from a law, and laws are historical, right? Now, people would try to say that birthright citizenship is supposed to overturn this, but technically it don't. Technically, it talks about rich or poor Indians, taxed, non-taxed Indians getting citizenship, which is us. But if you are an African or admitting you're coming from Africa or your ancestors, it even says ancestors, and you got to think, why would they write that in 1860? Not when you first get here in 1715 with the first major banks, you say, let's go ahead and make sure these niggas can't get nothing, Not by 1800 when you done so-called imported 333,000, really 90,000, and that number keeps going down. Yeah, let's write these niggas down, No, you ain't gonna write it then. Not anytime in the 1800s when you're doing all kind of little random things and stuff. You wait until five years before the end of slavery to tie in some laws about African ancestors. I find that very, very convenient. And it says that, hey, the plaintiff saying that his ancestors were imported from Africa and sold as slaves is not a citizen to the United States. So what does that mean? It says, and was not entitled to sue in that character in the circuit court. So why did the freedmen?
Now, nearly 200 years later, comes the $56 million payment from the federal government to compensate the tribe for those lost Florida lands. But the black Seminoles can't share in it, because the government and the tribe say they were slaves of the red Seminoles back then, and as slaves could.
And the only thing, now this dude to tell you, look.
Cometh to that cometh the gun gun. So you see, freedom came here with their gun gun. They said the freedom was slave to the Indian, but slaves don't wear no gun.
let's say you say the freedmen were slave to the Indians. Well, slaves don't wear no guns, and we had our guns on us when we came here in 1856. And that's just less than 10 years, 9 years before the end of slavery. And he said when we came, we had our y'all can hear that trying to come out. We had our guns on them. And what's funny, in the archives, I swear, man, and y'all seen this, I swear, man, I find everything. In the archives, this is Seminole Indian with his gun on him. Okay? In the Jumper family, in the Gilcrease archives. All right, so what we have here, and the Jumper family come from like the chiefs. They were chiefs also in the tribe. So what we have here is a people who had, you got to think, by 1856, until that settlement thing that came in, somehow something happened to give them a slave status, is what I'm getting to. So the only thing that I can think that happened that would have given them a slave status on paper. Now, we got to say on paper. Now, it's one thing coming into a court and saying, hey, my ancestors are African and I deserve recompense, blah, blah, blah. Well, according to this, you wouldn't be able to sue for that. Okay? You're not a citizen. Well, unless there's no way that they were in court, they didn't go to court for this. So they didn't, the only thing they would have to go off of is paperwork. And if you think what paperwork would have came about, that everybody was fighting, literally fighting to get off of. The Dawes Rolls. They were fighting to get off of the freedmen. Let me go back to this. Off of the freedmen rolls. They was like, now they were just saying, hey, I'm a damn Indian. But also not knowing that they were doing this. Now, these are some of these people, like in the matter of some Cheetos and some Loves, of trying to transfer their name. Let me do it like that. For the transfer of their names from said Freeman roll to the roll of Choctaws by blood. Now, you got many of these cases. You had whole newspapers talking about, how many people did you say? 1,500 folks in this particular case were like, hey, we not freedmen. And in many cases, you have something, I can't remember which one, but people would put your name down as a freeman and you never even signed up. Literally putting you into a slavery status without you having a signature on it, which would be fraud, in my opinion. But technically what you have happen is these people accept a freedman status or are fraudulently placed in a freedman status, which makes them African slave descendants, technically. Now, unless you believe and come in there and say, hey, I was a slave because I was an Indian prisoner of war, then you wouldn't be suing under the character of an African ancestor. You would be suing under the character of an indigenous American Indian who was a prisoner of war. But if you go in there with that freedman shit, they're likely going to tie you to this African descendant because according to them, that word freedman, first of all, the word freedman didn't exist prior to this, likely like that. It might have been a name over there in goddamn Europe, and I did see that, but that I'm not 100% sure when it started over there. But freeman did exist, Freeeman, okay? And I also believe that black people used to call themselves freemen all the time. That name had existed for a long time here in the United States. So in my opinion, I believe it was word trickery. Like, okay, we'll give you freedman status. And it sounds the same. Nigga, if a white folks say that to you and it's a card in front of you, you already don't even speak much of the English that they probably talk. Little language barrier, we Indians, whatever. And they like, okay, we're going to sign you up as a freedman. A freedman. You're like, yeah, freedman. Yeah, that's me. yeah, we just signed you up as a freedman. yeah, man. Like I said, I'm a free man. Yeah. And we just go past it. Or, like I said, they fraudulently put you on the rolls. And really, I can show you some fraudulent rolls in my own family that I've already researched. Like a lot of the loves. Let me see. I'm going to pull this up for y'all. It's on my MacBook. A lot of the loves were fraudulently, I can tell were fraudulently done. Because everybody was supposed to have an interview, but then you got a bunch of people that don't have interviews that all of a sudden just write a paper, and then all of a sudden they write a little paragraph, and all of a sudden they're part of the damn Dawes Roll signed up on the Freedmen. Let me see. I'm looking for it. Come on now. Might be under here. I'll show y'all what I'm looking at. Okay, let me see if I can find it. Freedman. I might be under this Freedman. Now, these are a bunch of people with the name Freedman coming over here, or given the name Freedman as they come over here. Immigrants on official paperwork. Immigrants that look like that. Lily Freedman. Let me give y'all. Now, that's that. There you go. Lily Freedman. You got to wonder, why did they give her that name? Excuse me. Barrett Freedman. Don't he look like a Mr. Freedman? Right? There's some of these cases. I think it's under that Freedman letter. So, okay. Now, you see this. Now, a lot of y'all already know, but this is the format that your typical application is supposed to be when you sign up for Freedman. Because some people did go down to the office, like some of my people. And some people were signed up for the roles, and they didn't know what they were signing up for. They just know they was just going up there to be Indian and get some land, probably. You know what I'm saying? The whole Freedman ancestors coming from Africa thing, they didn't know nothing about that shit. All right, but okay, but this is how it's supposed to look. Question, answer, Q&A, right? But what you have, and these are like cases where people are like, I'm not supposed to be signed up on those roles. I think it's in this one, though. Yeah. There's one, there's another one, there's another one. Yep. There's another one. There's another one. There's another one. I'm going to show you what I'm looking at here in a second. Let me just check this other one. Okay. See, most of these are all Q&A, right? Q&A. That's your typical format, Q&A. Somebody's there being interviewed. Now, on these applications, that's the application right here. It's a paragraph. It says, I am 24 years old. I am the sister of Arthur Carter by the same mother, C. Chickasaw Carter, blah, blah, blah. Mother Charity belonged to Wilson Love. My husband is Joe Love, and blah, blah, blah. Now, there's a few things that are very convenient about this bullshit. Let me make this a little bit bigger. Hold on. And about all the ones I'm about to show you. Well, I was trying to make it bigger. Come on, they zooming in, man. There you go. All right. So there's a couple of things to take away from this. Your typical Freedman application is going to ask you, who was your mother? Who was your father? Y'all know why that's important. I ain't even got to tell you why that's important, right? That is one of the most important things that all of them are asked. They also asked them who their slave master was or who they belonged to. A lot of times they say, who did you belong to? Sometimes they did say slave master or slave or your master. And then sometimes they would say you were a slave of this in some of the letters too. But the main things all those Q&As would ask, who is your dad, who is your mom, who they belong to, who did you belong to, and a couple of other main things. Okay, every single one of them. It was a typical format. Well, when you get to these, what's conveniently left off? The mother and the father. That's why a lot of people who have some of these trees connected to the loves, almost every single one of you people who have a love that are black, you likely have this situation where you get back and it says you tied to Thomas Love, but you may not have a piece of paper that exactly said. You know, like, we know, but where's the paper? And some of y'all might have something else different. If you come from Imahotep and through the William line, that would be my situation. But I know I'm not the only one because there's a video I'll show you. So that's where I got the from that newspaper clipping. But there's a video of another guy. So if you just go to the archives and type in the original word of Shatta, original spelling, okay? And it ain't going to bring up a whole lot of things, but under media type, select movies. That'll shorten it down. And under the movies, you'll see one that says Shatta. It's the only one that says Shatta pronounced like it should be or spelled like it should be, right? Now, this dude is just a regular other dude.
Slavery cried along the same trail under the whip.
He was like, we cried along the same trail under the whip. Oh my God. Don't look, let this be a lesson. Let me see if I can find that shit again. Let this be a lesson.
Homes and resettled in Indian and African native people in chattel slavery cried along the same trail under the whip and in chains.
They was on the trail and they was getting whipped like, keep walking, nigga. Get your walking ass on before I whip your ass with them motherfucking chains. Get your chained ass up. Like, quit adding extras to stories is what I'm getting to, nigga. I hate that. That's why our stories are so convoluted today. Nigga done told somebody you was a slave in the past, and that is so, every story's gotta be told in the most gruesome, worst, most heartfelt. You understand? They was graving it. They stuffed us in the back of the carts and shit. You know what I'm saying? When the horses was dragging, if you was being bad, they stuffed you in a barrel. And they roll you down in the barrel and shit. You know, just like, shut up, nigga. Just stop adding stuff. Does it make sense that if you have to walk up one trail, right? You have to walk this way to go to Oklahoma. What the hell you need a whip for? I guess you trying to make sure the African don't run off into the woods or something. Your whip is gonna stop that. I don't get it, man. This shit is idiotic. And there's thousands of us at the time, over 20,000 of us. And we all being carried, followed by about whips and chains. And we all chained up. Y'all ain't had that many chains. These people just be saying stuff. But either way, let me get off him. So he's tied to the Loves. And that whole story, even though I didn't show you, that whole story is about how he has a problem finding the connection, but they know that there's the connection, just like I do. We know that they're descendants. We all know that we come from this. But this paperwork their freedmen applicant, because they forced them on the rolls as freedmen. Now, they would say they signed up as freedmen, right? I'll show you my people's paperwork. They would say that they signed up as freedmen, but this is why some people were suing, because they was like, hey, and some of the literature of people suing, they was like, man, somebody just signed me up on this, man. I don't know what the hell this is. What you mean, freedman? I'm an Indian. I'm a this. I'm a that. So this is my folks, my love, right there, Bill or William Love, okay, and this is who we're tied to. Now, notice it doesn't say it don't tell the parents. It just says, oh, he was a slave of Wilson Love. That was important. Why is this important? Because this puts you in a slave status. Why? And so what? Let me show you the Seminoles. Seminole Freedman card easily will show you. Watch. So the Seminoles, we know that they were not slaves of anybody, right? But they still had them sign up on the Dawes rolls. Let me see. You know what? I'm gonna go to. I think I have a card saved. Hold up. Under my Seminole folder. Oh, that's under the Freedman folder. My bad. Hold up. So, where's my Seminole folder? Right there. All right. So, and it'd be better to show it from this side because I think this one is from Bowlegs. Yeah. Okay. So, you have a Seminole Freedman roll, right? So, you have these people, the Carter family. They're signed up. Of course, we know for a fact that they were not slaves. But they put somebody in this category as a slave of. Who is they a slave of? Eliza Bowlegs. Who is the Bowlegs family? The Bowlegs family come from, and some of y'all already know, your man Billy Bowlegs. Okay? The black Indian with his straightened ass hair. Okay? Now, why is that important? People would just say, I guess that nigga owned him the Carters. I guess they family owned slaves, is what you would say, right? But what about another explanation? What about, where the hell did that damn card go? Right here. What if in this category of slave of, they put something else? Is that hard to believe? Put the chief of the tribe right there. Who were you under? Yeah, just put that over there. Yeah. We can't change it. That's just, it's just the standard. Just put who you were under. Is it that hard to believe? But at the same time, they knew what they were doing. They told you to just put some, or not you wouldn't just put somebody on there. They filled this paperwork out. You were sitting on the other side as they filled the paperwork out. Let me show you. Freedmen at the Dawes rolls. I knew I was going to have to fucking type that in. At the Dawes rolls. Should have it here. I got it in a book, but it should have that photo here. There it is right here. This is how it was done. This is a photograph of freedmen, so-called, black folks, right? As they're signing up for the Dawes rolls. They are all the way on the other side, and who is with the papers? Who is doing the writing? Would you know where they gonna put Billy Bowlegs, or who the hell you tell them on anything, or would you just tell them your answers? Yeah, that's basically what you would do. This is where that whole question and answer thing would be taking place as well. Okay? So somebody purposely told them to put something in that slavery category. It's funny how this one doesn't have. No, that's. Yeah, I don't know how this one. This is on the. Let me click on this. Hold on, what's this? Like how that's one that has the category that wasn't filled out. And you almost never see it not filled out. But then I click on it and it don't take me to the actual card. Either way, whatever. But typically on those you're gonna see that. Okay, so let me get back to this. My bad, y'all. You know, I'm just sitting here cooking. Hadn't been reading. Y'all know I like to interact with the folks. Appreciate everybody that's came in. Appreciate y'all that's watching. Getting the game. That's my grandmother's last name, but they went from Georgia. You talking about love, simplicity? OCO, I am my ancestors. Good to see you. Mr. Dude, what's happening? Okay, Nikki, what's happening? What's happening, everybody? Let me see. Let me look in here so I can see who all up in here. Crew out, what's happening, folk? Big Swerve, what up? Appreciate all y'all, man, that's throwing gifts. I've said what's up to, I think, most of y'all. Some of y'all don't know yet. Appreciate you being up in here, though. Yeah. Some of y'all don't know yet, or I may have skipped over. I be skimming fast, so forgive me when I skim fast and miss somebody. Yeah, I know I be doing that. What up, D. Lias? American Black Beauty, appreciate you. Appreciate all y'all. So, okay. So on this paper right here, again, like I told you, it's supposed to be question and answer. That's supposed to be the format. But on this format, it's not question and answer. And on top of that, they're not giving all the information. Now, I thought that this was just, maybe a coincidence on one, but then I saw it again on this one right here. Chickasaw Freeman. It says, in the matter of the applicant of Abe Love and others for the enrollment of Chickasaw Freeman, Abe Love being sworn by Commissioner A.S. McKinnon says, I am 21 years of age. I'm 21. I am son of Jane Ross. Now, that's one that I'm just now noticing. They actually listed son of Jane Ross, who belonged to Jim Gaines. And I feel like that's a little trickery right there. Because we'll get into that. Because how you a male love that's a son of Jane Ross, and the Rosses were actual slave owners. That's probably why. But they saying this Ross belonged to Jim Gaines. This is one of those convoluted ones. They typically don't say that. They don't even say that. My wife, Esther, 21. Daughter, Minnie, whatever, and some names of some kids, right? So I said, okay. Go down, came down, found me another one from some Loves. This is all. I mostly seen it with Loves. I'm pretty sure it may happen with some other surname, but like it says, sworn in, Randolph and others. It says Randolph Love says I'm 57. I belong to Isaac Love. My wife was Louisa, 50. Belonged to Chimpio, whatever. I have one child, Sally, wife, Alfred. She has no children. By Elsner, whatever. Belong to Joe Factor. I have one child, Charlie, whatever. Never said who the parents are. Same McKinnon. Okay? Another one, like DJ Khaled, right? Freeman card. Randolph Love says, I am 57. I belong to Isaac Love. Oh, that's the same one. My bad. Here's another one. I am 56. I belong to Caroline Willis Chickasaw. My husband's Cherokee. Is Cherokee. I have 2 unmarried children. Never said the parents. I have grandchildren, whatever, and some Loves. McKinnon with a stamp on that bitch. Another one. In the matter of the application of Lawrence Love and the others in the arraignment of Chickasaw Freeman, Lawrence Love being sworn in by Commissioner A.S. McKinnon. I am 40 years old. I belong to Sam Love. My wife is Ella, daughter whatever, blah, blah, blah. No parents listed. Why ain't you asking these questions, Mr. McKinnon? Okay. Another one. And you seem to do it to the same family, Mr. McKinnon, but okay. Now, this says the rights. In the matter of the application of Martha Wright and others for the enrollment of Chickasaw Freeman, Martha Wright belonged to Mr. Commissioner McKinnon. And the reason why I probably say this is because I believe Mr. McKinnon did this to prominent surnames. Okay? Love, very prominent surname. The Wrights, very prominent surname. McKinnon says, I'm 52 years old, belong to this person. They are alive. He was being right. My children are these folks. Son of these folks. No, it says my son. I'm sorry. My son, Martin Wright, blah, blah, blah. Some more kids. Other children, blah, blah, blah. Never asked about them parents, Mr. McKinnon. Starting to find a pattern here, Mr. McKinnon. And that's one of the last ones. Besides, I need to get back on. I was like hunting for those for a minute. Back in August, looks like. And I just stopped. Probably because I just moved on to another topic. And I never did. I don't even know if I made a video about that. I was going to make a video about it. I was going to keep looking into it. I was going to find some more letters. I can show you the letter of mine. I didn't show you mine. Actually, I can pull it up here. I think it should be over here. Chickasaw Love. Should be over here. A lot of people coming in from overseas giving the love name. A lot of people coming in from overseas giving the love name. Okay. In the 1900s. Okay. But okay, let me see. As I say, I belong. Here's another one. That's another one. I just didn't have it in the same folder. I belong to whatever. Kids not telling who the father is. Some people in Sherman, Texas. Love family. Mr. McKinnon. Right? And then the love name being given out to all kind of people coming over here in the 1900s. That's funny. Here's another one. Pauls Valley. Chickasaw Freeman Love, Leander Love being signed up by Commissioner A.S. McKinnon. Now, do y'all think that they all went to the same person on the same day? Or he was like, how did this happen? How did Mr. McKinnon get all the loves? Was his office, maybe the office in the vicinity, and all the loves lived in the exact same area forever, and they all came to him for their Freeman sign up? Like, how did this happen? What kind of things can I give? And why are so many people giving the name? Love. I belong to, is this a love? I have children. No, it says Cochran. Like Johnny Cochran. A.S. McKinnon on this bitch. Nathan Cochran, the Cochran family, prominent surname. That's probably why I saved it. I was like, oh, I wonder if he did the same thing I wonder if the Cochran family has a problem connecting to a certain individual around this time frame. You know, here's some more people giving the love surname. It might be here. This is my folks. Let me open this up. So it says right here, in the matter of the application of Bill Love and others sworn in, and blah, 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 Bill Love being sworn in A.S. McKinnon. I'm 70 years old. I belong to Wilson. I was freed. I've never lived in the nation. Blah, blah, blah. I mean, I had never lived out the nation. Blah, blah, blah. Something about the Creek Nation. Nothing about his parents again. Priscilla Colbert have a son, Albert Love by Priscilla Colbert. Colberts are in here. She belonged to Martha Harris, blah, blah, blah. The Mitchells, those are my folks, and blah, blah, blah. So the Loves tied to the Mitchells in this, which tied to my people. All in this one letter, Bill Love. This is how we tied to William Love, is because this letter has Sylvia Mitchell in it. And she's also listed on his Dawes Rose card. And then, but that's him. And we come from the Mitchells, which turns into Overstreet later. But but yeah, so these are my folks. And that's their card. Now, this is Overton Love's card. Now, Overton Love is the white man Overton Love, okay? Now, he doesn't have Freedman on his card. Obviously, he's not including Freedman, right? This is not including no Freedman. They knew that they was going to do something different. And they put him on here as a 1/8 or 1/16. His wife is 1/16. He's 1/8. You got 332s. These people are basically white tea, okay? Basically. But these are the people who a lot of the folks come from, who started Love's Travel Stops, the major corporation, you know. That's all over. Overton Love talks about him here. Whatever. Colbert's, Holmes, Chickasaws, whatever. Stuff like that. So, yeah, I got all kind of shit in here, you know what I'm saying? But, again, main thing I wanted y'all to see is this Freedman status. This Freedman status was so much of a thing that they had to fraudulently put us on. That's what I'm getting to. Getting us on this Freedman status to put us into the it's gonna be over here. Hold up, man. Y'all want to see what I had in my podcast studio yesterday? Some of y'all, whoops. Oh yeah, his file's missing. But some of y'all may know him. Michael Pruitt. He's like he's NFL player. He used to play with the Vikings. I think the Vikings and some other folks. Hold on, I'll show you. Some of y'all may recognize him. I didn't recognize him. Like, what's your name, man? Oh, okay, cool. Yeah. Just come on in.
Hey, what's going on? Must Be Two Sides family, man. We got a super exciting episode this week. My boy Ahmad has joined me in Dallas, man. Out here for a little work, but you know, we're gonna have some fun on the way too.
Find time to mix work with, I wouldn't say pleasure in it.
Okay, anyway, that's my little podcast studio. Said the Love family was not too far from being indebted to the intruder as being indebted to the intruders. I'm not sure what you're saying there in the Connors lane, but I know the Love family was on some bullshit. A lot of them. Now, the black side of them probably wouldn't, but the YT side damn sure was. What was I about to show y'all? That kind of sidetracked me. I was showing. Oh yeah. So doing that, and that's why people were suing, because putting us in the freedman status is what basically put us in the character of. Because you got to think when the Seminoles went to court about the $54 million that they didn't get part of with the tribe. What law did they look at to say you were a slave so you don't get this money? Like, what says that you don't get money because you're a slave? Because we know slaves got money, but you got to think, what are they doing? What is the tribe doing? Why is the tribe getting money? Well, they said it was a $54 million settlement. Settlement implies sue. Somebody is suing. The tribe is suing the government, and the government has settled. But you can't sue or get this paper that was sued for because you were saying you were an African on paperwork. Now, mind you, they forced you on it. Because you got to think. That was in the early 1900s or whatever. Or whenever that happened, that settlement came. So, like, it might have been like 1950s or something like that. But either way, that was well afterwards. You know what I'm saying? So, like, you got to think what law was in place. And again, that's why I said, why would they even write this law 5 years before slavery even it was going to end, knowing they was going to be in a civil war? You don't just start. You don't be like, well, I'm just writing slave codes today, and tomorrow, like, what? Somebody want to go to civil war about the slaves? Damn, I just wrote the slave code yesterday. That ain't how it happens. You know, so I just switcheroo. Yeah, they knew that they had to write you out. They are very good at deceiving people. Now, we think that's just them lying and doing this or whatever, but really, it's deceiving you in many ways, ways that you never even thought that they would do. They doing things on the back end. And you got to think about this too. In many cases, they just kind of got themselves in power in some areas. In some areas, we still had power. So they had to write these laws in the areas that they had power. The United States, at this point, you know, I guess the District of Columbia had been established. So, you know, jurisdiction of federal, you know, laws, in a sense, they had taken over that area. So they could start writing these federal laws and these things or whatever. I don't know. I'm just kind of making some conjecture, but like they could start writing these things, and they knew that they was we gonna write these niggas out of existence. But we got to get them to accept this Africa story. Now, I mean, I can't even think of a time prior to this, 1860s, that you really have people saying much about there being Africans. I mean, don't get me wrong. There's some newspapers that they say they brought some Africans here. There are some accounts of some Africans here and there. But, like, you know, this whole African, you know, it's not a whole, whatever. It's some, I guess, whatever. It's a few things. But I'm just saying, like, to throw it in, as far as in law, though, or and stuff, I don't know. I'd have to go look. In fact, I was actually on that hunt. Let me see if I kept that up. I was on the hunt for that, and yeah, this was I never got around to reading this. I kept this up. I finally cleaned up my tabs, but this is a slave race law from Colorado EDU, University of Colorado. So I was gonna go through it, and it was to see what all laws does it state that were around, that were followed in what states and the jurisdictions and wherever, how far things was per state, where are all the legislative things that I can find, and where can I find like actual legislation, like in either in a book, on a newspaper, or in a government archive, constitution, or not a constitution, but you know, something. I just want to find whatever, because I wasn't finding much, to be honest. And right now, I'm just going to have to read through that. It looks like, you know, I'm not going to get a quick answer. Free black people and enslaved persons, regulating all non-white people. Yeah, I don't know. But I got that up, and I was going to be looking into the slave noirs, the black codes, and a couple of things. It's not really a whole lot. And that's why I think that this... And when my main thing, when I'm gonna go through, when I look through it, said this is exactly what the administration is doing. Going through old stuff and trying to bring things back in order. Hopefully, they did it one reason at a time until they were successful in that one. Yeah, and that's one thing that. And that's why I don't understand how people don't understand the concept. They'll accept the idea, okay, well, black Indians were over here, right? But then they won't accept they won't look at time frames and be like, hey, they didn't even get to some of us until after 1803 in the South. And some people, you know, like Alabama, Mississippi, and a lot of them things didn't even really become states until 1820, 1830. So a lot of that whole slavery story doesn't even hold up a lot in those states. And even if it did, it wasn't for that long. You know, at most it would have been like 30 years. But they'd be like, okay, all of a sudden we just started all anew, everything just started over, and we all ethnogenesis and all this other shit. All that stuff is just weird, man. Host, I send you a text. You said what now? I am my ancestors. Well, deconstruct. You sent me a text. I don't think you got my phone number. You said, well, deconstructing the laws by smaller regions first. Yeah. And that's the thing too. Like, so this is why I believe they flooded us with immigrants, is because, you know, we're thinking that they either bringing people over here to outnumber us so they can like strengthen them up as far as like, you know, militarily or something. But in many cases, no, they flooded people over here in order to vote themselves into office and outvote us, which we shouldn't allow that, to be honest. But, you know, things were different at the time. I'm sure because in some areas we had governments. Some Indians had governments. They try to say there was no Indian governments. They didn't do that kind of shit. I got several books that talk about certain Indian tribes having governments. And we had those state capitol buildings and all that. That shit was already here. So we was up in there. But they had to get us out. And if you flood us with immigrants like this, look at this. I got this whole thing of people being flooded in. I'm gonna show you the years. Not there. Here it is. Passenger list of vessels arriving at New York. What are those years? 1820 to 1897. That's not Ellis Island. This is before Ellis Island, where 12 million came. On top of that. Okay. And how many people came on this one? I don't know, but I'll show you. I'll give you an idea. And they didn't start flooding into about 1820. I'm going to see if I can find some, let me open this in Adobe. It'd be tripping. I'm going to see if I can find any other ship logs that go past these years. But okay, for instance, look how many people are on this page. Okay? It's over 1,000 pages on this bitch. People coming from Germany. That line going down means all them niggas is Germany. Wherever the hell that says, Italy, something, Paris, maybe, Italy, something. They're heading to Buffalo, New York, all that shit. New York, okay? Germany, all right? Germans, Italians. Whatever the hell those are. And look how many people are on these pages, y'all. This ain't no bullshit. These are ship logs of us being flooded like crazy. Okay? What year is this? Let's see. Random one. What year is this? That's 1882. Oh, that's the passenger list, 1882. Let's see. I think so. Let me go back up to the top. I'm on page 670. I'm on page 670. Let's go up. Let's see how early it starts. And think about it, they being given names. They coming over here, they got some kind of name. Hard to read some of these motherfucking names. I said the Passenger Act of 1882. So it has to be at least 1882. So maybe it doesn't, but it says 1820. I haven't really looked at all of them. Maybe some go back as far as that. Let's see. I'll probably have to go through. Maybe there's a lot in 1882. Or whatever that is. Let's see. Okay, yeah, there's the year. 1880 something right there. At least on a lot of these. But it says, okay, it says 1887. So yeah, I have to go through, but it says 1820. But this is still supposed to be slightly outside of Ellis Island. That might be the tail end or early beginnings of Ellis Island. Which would also confirm that a lot of these folks didn't get here. Let me just find some other 1887. Damn, that's a lot of folks in 1887, dude. What the fuck? 1880, they don't know. They didn't fill it out. That's a lot of motherfucking people. 1887. God damn. It's like these niggas, man, what the hell? Nigga, y'all didn't build that many boats that fast, nigga. How the hell did this happen, nigga? 1887. This shit's insane. I don't even know what to think about it. I really don't know what to think about it. It's in the government archives. That's where I got the shit, though. That's where I got it. I was thinking that maybe I might run into one, but these motherfuckers is damn near all 1887. Which is pretty much almost Ellis Island, you know what I'm saying, the time frame. So I don't know why it said 1820 or whatever. I figured that I might find one a little earlier than that. But as you can see, maybe there's one in there that said 1820, and that's why I do that, and the rest of them 1887. Y'all know how they do. All right, so anyways. But just think about the amount of people. What's up, Nikki? Just look down, senior. What's happening with you? What's up? He said 1819 was the beginning of was the beginning of what there, amigo? Said well, deconstruct the law. Yeah. So that late as usual. Was the beginning of the flooding this country. Yeah. And I'm pretty sure I might find some more logs. I downloaded this one, but I wasn't even looking for this when I found it. So that's why I didn't even really look further into it. But I knew when I found it and I saw it, I was like, oh yeah, I'm gonna need to go ahead and say that. But that's too many people. That's way too many people coming up in here. And people still come up in here like that today. But what I was saying too is like, yeah, they flood people in here. And really around this time too, 1882, you got to think about it. I actually like to see that because before 1882, we was in office. Like in Louisiana, 1868, we was in these offices, right? Where's the main photo of that? Here it is. That's the same photo, but this is a better look of the photo. So you see all the Negroes, they would say. But they say, was Alabama, the Negroes in the above picture were members of the legislature or whatever. So you got all these Negroes in Alabama. They made up most of the legislature in Alabama and Louisiana. What about also Mississippi? 1874 to 75. You have some white faces. tons of black faces. Whoops. Tons of black faces up in here. All these black faces, okay? Some white faces, more black faces. Even a woman right there, okay? Now think about this. This is 1874 to 75. All right? That's Mississippi, Louisiana, Alabama, but also South Carolina had, said a member delegate, 98 Negroes to 22 whites, I think it says. But for sure, 98 Negroes. Oh, 57 whites. There it goes. So that's 4 states. Okay. I think that's it. I think that's all. These were like main delegates of those states, or representatives or whatever. And whatever. Okay, so you have all these states. All of them are full of us. You flood in all of these people. Now you can vote these people out and turn it into something like this, which is just, what year was this? I forgot what year this was. I think it's like barely like 15 to 20 years later in Mississippi or no, Louisiana, or one of them, Mississippi, one of them. I don't know. I gotta remember where the hell it was. I saved the photo, but I forgot to save the caption to it. But it would be from this one, Mississippi. So Mississippi basically turns from this to that by a certain time frame. And that's after you flooded in all these motherfucking people. And they do that now when they flooded in all these Hispanics, Mexicans, whatever the hell, and just the immigrants, period. Not even just those. And wanted them people to vote for their Democrat or whatever the hell they wanted them to vote for, right? And very telling of the play-by-play in this century, right? Appreciate that. Cousin Al. Appreciate you, Nikki. No Clout, what's happening? This is what McMillan and McGraw refuses to print in textbooks, right? Exactly. Peace, Indian all year. Yeah, so like, you got to think of the dynamics of this, you know, and just going through and finding this, because each one of these states eventually all turn all white, and that's that 1887, and that's after, and everything happens in the 1800s, man, especially the late part, but the beginning part is still the removal, the treaties, and you know, different removals and stuff like that. And you also got this going into play where they like, okay, start calling, if anybody calls themselves an African, they're no longer a citizen. Start the Africa propaganda up, right? Start that up because we need y'all to be doing this, all right? Now, you know what? I never finished reading that. Let me read it from the top real quick. It says, the plaintiff, for those who didn't see this, let me see this. It says, an African admitting his ancestors to have been slaves is not a citizen of the United States. And it says, hey, the plaintiff, having admitted by his demeanor to the plea in abatement that his ancestors were imported from Africa and sold as slaves, he is not a citizen of the state of Missouri according to the Constitution of the United States and was not entitled to sue in that character in the circuit court. I bid, therefore, the facts he states do not give him or his family a right to freedom. Look, notice it says the facts he states. He admitted. Notice the language is really all about you admitting it. Okay? And when he was there, the facts that he states do not give him or his family the right to freedom. The plaintiff is still a slave and is not entitled to sue as a quote unquote citizen. And the judgment of the circuit court was erroneous on that grounds also without any reference to the plea in abatement. So when y'all say that shit, say that again for the African descent. If you admit it and you come in stating your facts that he stated, right? Not they didn't say the facts at hand. They said the facts he stated of admission goes to show that he is not a citizen of the United States and he can't sue, so he can't get nothing from us. So when these people keep saying, like Simon, that's why I can't, I'm gonna find him on a panel one of these days and we're gonna go back and forth. But I guarantee you, I can spit this exact stuff and show all these things. And this is law right here. He would have to show some law that was written that literally overturns this. Now, they try to say that when you Google it, it'll be like, okay, is the slave codes of 1860 legislation still active today? It'll tell you no. The slave codes of 1860 and all similar legislation are not active today in the United States. They were completely abolished by the 13th Amendment to the Constitution, subsequent civil rights legislation. But first of all, we know that not all slave laws were abolished, because we know that there's still slavery allowed in what? Criminal offenses, whatever it said, whatever, right? Somebody duly convicted of a crime, it actually says it right here. It says the Amendment of the United States officially abolishes slavery and involuntary servitude throughout the entire United States, with a specific exception only as a punishment for a duly convicted crime. This rendered the pre-Civil War slave codes unconstitutional and legally void. But is that really the case? Could they be void if they're still active if you're convicted of a crime? And, I think that would be where they're going to hang their head on, is going to be this amendment. Never our sources in it. But just because, it's like this code, this law right here, and I don't know if this is just written into the slave law or if this is part of just if this is slave code or if the slave code is mentioning a law. So let me say that. Because they said that somebody was suing in Missouri. And so I don't know if, I'm going to have to look a little bit further. That's why I haven't done my video about it. But because I know I like to just be for sure. But in my opinion, I believe this law is still active. I believe just because it's written under this slave code, document, because this says, let me see, slave code for the District of Columbia. Yeah, because it ain't talking about necessarily being a slave, but it said a dude had basically admitted that his people were imported from Africa. It didn't really say what he was suing for. So what I probably have to do is find this particular case and see, what if this is just a case that is stating in the law, in this slave code, then this would still be law, in my opinion. And I wish maybe if I could find a lawyer or something, that would know something about this. But I would think that if this is just law that's just being stated in the slave code, then at some point, whatever. But it could have just been wrote during this, and it could be abolished. Could be, but in my opinion, I feel like it's not. I feel like and I'll tell you why too. Because when the Seminoles went to sue, they said because they said that they were slaves or not they said, but because they were, I guess somebody said it, because they were slaves of the Red Seminoles, they couldn't get the payout. And so why would the court say that if they didn't have some law back that says that? The only other thing I can say is to say that the red man the fake Spaniards, when they went to sue, said that they don't get it and they wrote them out. But they were saying that, but she said that the government said that they can't share in on the settlement because they were slaves. And it was like, well, if they were slaves, why does that matter if there was a 13th Amendment, right? That's what they actually, yeah, that's what I'm glad we're thinking through this. I'm glad I'm thinking through this with y'all. Because I need to make sure I'm ironclad when I hit them with this Freedmen thing. Because they say,
now, nearly 200 years later, comes the $56 million payment from the federal government to compensate the tribe for those lost Florida lands. But the Black Seminoles can't share in it because the government and the tribe say they were slaves of the Red Seminoles back then, and as slaves could not have owned land.
If the 13th Amendment abolished any kind of slavery laws, then what does it matter if they're a slave on getting their settlement? They should just be tribal citizens like they're supposed to be and allowed to take part into what happened of them losing their land in Florida. But this puts them directly in a slave status. And in a slave status, it shouldn't matter if the 13th Amendment is out. But if this law is still active, they're not saying that because of slave codes, in my opinion, that you were, because you were whipped and chained as a slave. They're saying because you're admitting that your ancestors came from Africa, in my opinion. And some might have admitted it. Maybe not them, but the paperwork did. I don't think they went to court. I don't think they went to the court at all. I think the red men went into court and said that that we came from Africa. They believed it, and the fake Spaniards, and I believe the court did that. I believe really they probably was in the cahoots. To be honest with you, they was in cahoots with each other because what you have think about this. I'm just kind of thinking about this on the fly. But if you want to make a fake tribe, you got to fund it. If you want to make fake tribes all around the United States to flesh out the history of the original people, you have to fund it. That's why the Gullah Geechees got their money. The Seminoles got their money, right? That's why the fake Gullahs, but we know them as Geechees. They the real people. Gullahs, some bullshit. Let me find it here for us, though. That's why the Geechees ended up getting, what is it? How much they get? $10 million to preserve, right? That's why all of these tribes get these big payouts. I bet if you look at many other tribes, and even if you look at some of those smaller tribes that take on our names, or the old names that we don't have much anymore. Like if you went to go, I guarantee you, I haven't done this, but let's do it now. Let's say Catawba. Let's look up the Catawba. Now we know the Catawba should be us, right? But let's look them up. Catawba Indian tribe. Wow, well, look at that. They actually, they one of the tribes that actually embraced the fact they got some folks. And I wonder if they call them freedmen. And, I was thinking in my head when I said the Catawbas in my head, well, the Catawbas might, but I didn't think much about, but, I wonder if I could see their council. Nation Council. Oh, that's the courts. Mr. Travis Trueblood and Shannon Thompson. Okay. But you know what's funny, though? Let's see. Let's keep looking before I say it. about our government general counsel. Come on, man. Y'all supposed to be showing me your counsel. I want to see your folks. Who's doing this? There we go. I'm always on the hunt. Look, I'm going to find somebody. Now, these are your people in the tribe now. Now, I want you to notice it's very YT, right? Chief of Government Affairs. These people are crazy. All right, so they don't look like Siberians. In fact, this is like one of those, like, it looks like it's one of them, like, mixed YT, mixed black tribes that didn't really incorporate too many of those, whatchamacallits. Let me go back here. Just look on here in the images. It's going to be a bunch of old stuff. Like, you really can't. Catawba Chief, Samuel Blue, Book of Mormon evidence. Yeah, it looks like a tribe of like YT folks. Now that's your Catawba. Now let me think of something that's a little bit more extinct. Let's say now we know about the Miwoks, so I don't want to do them. Damn, I can't think of no good. I was about to say the Edisto. But I don't know if they have one. I'm just trying to think of an old name. Let's see if they have some. Look at this. I have never looked into this. Look at this. Edisto Natchez Kuso tribe. Now, Kuso, Kalusa, now that comes from meaning strong and black. Kuso is a derivative of the strong and black term. Now let's see who's part of this. They got a nigga in there. They got some Siberians up in there. Okay. All right now. Now you gotta wonder. Now the Edisto. Let's go back. Now why am I looking into this? Let me show you why this makes sense. Let me see if I got something already up with that before I look it up. This though. Yep. So that tribe should not exist. Now, why am I showing this? Like I said, if you're gonna make a tribe, you need to fund it. And you need to fund every single tribe so that way when we look at tribal names, we don't go looking and thinking, is that our name? Is that us? Because by the time you go looking, there's going to be YT folks and Siberians there looking at you. No, we're the Edistos. It's like, wait a minute. First of all, it says here that the Edisto were first mentioned in books in 1562 and that there were no mentions about them after 1743 because they pretty much got grouped into the Geechees is what happens. Notice this website, where are they from? South Carolina. Because Edisto is an island in South Carolina. The Geechees live near Edisto Island, South Carolina, if I'm not mistaken. But somebody had to create a tribe. Do you think that these people, except for maybe that one nigga, except for maybe him, maybe, do you think these people trace their genealogy back and were like, God damn it, I didn't know this, but I'm a damn Edista. I'm a damn Edista. Well, let me go down to the... Nobody told me I was an Edista. They can't even pronounce it. Hell no. Exactly. Do y'all think that happened? What's up, Monet? Thanks for the gifts. Thanks for showing. Thanks for being here. What's up, Lee? I didn't see you down there. Do y'all think these people really did their genealogy and just so happened to tie themselves back to an extinct ancient tribe? Come on, man. That's insane. So what am I getting at? In order for there to be, like, if I let's do another one. Let's do another one of these extinct tribes. Let's do the Seaweed. Never done it before. Never looked it up. I bet somebody has a fucking Seaweed tribe that we didn't know. Seaweed Indian tribe. The Dawes Island Blood, the Seaweed predecessors, the Native American Seaweed Indians, Carolina, that's Carolina. Kind of Seaweeds primarily lived on the lower coast. The Seaweed, Skyway Indians, Native American Seaweed. Seaweed in Native American South Carolina name. Now they say extinct. Maybe they haven't brought this one back. Let's see. But they be bringing a lot of these back. Just like that at Disto. Now, we should be claiming some of these at Distos and Seaweed or whatever and all these other ones. But yeah, nah. They may not do that. Let's do one more. I'm just curious. Do one more. Let's do the Wimby. That seems like something they try to steal. Let's see. Is the Wimby the Lumbee today? I was thinking that in my head. North Carolina on the Carolina. I was thinking that in my head. I'm gonna try one more because it might associate that with Lumbee, and that could be. Let's do this. Which now? Let's try that one. That was kind of odd. And they may not do them all, but I'm curious. You never know. Charleston County Public Library, blah, blah, blah. Google based. So maybe not all of them. But still, I shouldn't be seeing them tied to any of them, to be honest. These people ain't no damn at Distos. Ain't no damn this, that, and the third. But typically what I'm getting at, though, is it seems like a organized effort to erase your history. And what would be the organization? How would that happen? Well, you would go through, you would find every tribe that you can name. And once you've done that, you start creating tribes under those names. Really simple. We need about 15 to 20 of y'all motherfuckers to come over here and act like you some Lumbies. Or act like you some damn Edistos or whatever. We'll fund you a little something. We'll throw you $5,000 each or whatever. And think about it. That's why a lot of these folks be looking like little hippies and shit like that. They look like they just sitting there just, oh, yeah, bro, I'll take it, bro. Yeah, I'm a fucking Miwok. Yeah, bro, I've been a Miwok my whole life, bro. And that's why, and they get on here. Y'all hear them, you know. And they act like goddamn hippies or weirdos. But man, had to light me up another one. But okay. So anyways, I done got far off into the weeds. We was technically all reading these letters. I was talking about this. I would even gone into the Seminoles, the Freedmen. That's what we was talking about, Freedmen and tribe corruption in a sense. So the tribe corruption in a sense kind of is, you get that. So it's like, so really that's part of the step too. Now, erasing your history is multiple steps. It's getting you into another status of being a slave, which makes you not a citizen, which makes you not from this land. And they was doing those back to Africa movements back at that time and shit too. Or the African or American Colonization Society and shit, Liberia bullshit. So that was going on. But also you got, while they were now making you freedmen, taking you out of this tribal capacity, at the same time, they're building up, or they will start to build up new tribes in your names. They change the name slightly, maybe, and they incorporate it. So now it's not that even that they may even be a real tribe. It's just that they're a corporation under that name legally who operate as this name, the Lumbee tribe or whatever. And they can get government contracts to do business with the government under this corporate capacity, under this corporate status, right? And now they get certain, not all of them get certain government things like that. And we also got to understand maybe and look further into what these government things some of them are getting. Some of them do get government benefits directly, money directly from the government. Some of that money comes from the land that was sold, like when we were talking about or leased out land. So like when we was looking at the maps in Oklahoma for like the Choctaw and Chickasaw. For example, this was the Choctaw and Chickasaw area, and they still own that whole land. They still own all of that. But they leased this out to other people. So if they are getting money, still, to this day, it would be from the leased land that they're getting the money from. Now, they could be getting something else. But that could be, and I'm not sure, I'd have to double check. I ain't never really looked into it, but that could be how they pay for some of the benefits and things that a lot of those folks get. Because think about this. If you find you a nation of people who all of a sudden got a bunch of money coming to them every month, you're going to come offer them services. Hey, offer our medical insurance to your people. In fact, you can pay for the medical insurance yourself, offer that as a whatever, and we'll give you a discounted rate for bulk people. And you can offer that. That way you can keep some of that money instead of disseminating it out. Oh, okay, cool. Yeah, we'll do that, right? Get in cahoots. We'll get you free healthcare, free this, free that, all this other stuff. You know what I'm saying? But really, I want that money. I want you to give. What up, cool spaceship? Appreciate that. So yeah, just think, you can do a lot with that money. And some people do get per capita, they do get money. Per cap just means each person. Like it means per capita, but I guess you get a certain amount of money per person, whatever. But that would go to each of them. So some people, it depends on why they get money. Some people could get money other ways. The Seminoles own Hard Rock Casino Cafe. And anywhere you see it, they either own it or they franchise it. So their money is not coming necessarily from the government. It's coming from their investments, like a business, Now, at least the Seminoles, let me say this, the Seminoles in Florida, these Seminoles are different. Now, the Seminoles in Florida, there are some of these Seminoles still in Florida. But what I'm saying is like, the real Seminole Nation itself was technically moved over here. Those who stayed down there supposedly was just reclassified. But then they opened up a reservation later. Because if you're trying to erase your history, you reserve some land to these people. Now, some of these people call it reservation land. Some of these people are just living on land that they bought, and they call it a reservation. And it's just word game play. Like, I've had some Native Americans, those actual Native Americans, fake ones, I've had them come on my panel, and they'll be like, like that Mr. Wanagi. I was trying to get him over. He was talking about, yeah, bro, we have reservation lands over there off in bro. And then at some point he let us know, yeah, we know we bought those lands and blah, blah, blah. I was like, y'all bought the land. If you bought the land, then that's just land you bought like any other citizen. Anybody, y'all wasn't given this land through tribal treaties. Like, yeah, this is your indigenous homeland. We must leave this to you by treaty. That's how you, as an Indian and a government, do it. Now, if you just went to the goddamn bank, nigga, and bought some land and call it a reservation, that's not your that's not a reservation. That's not your land. Didn't nobody reserve you shit. You bought it. Okay? So it's idiotic shit like that, like he be doing. Now he tried to say that's his people there, MODOK. Now he got me when he told me that I didn't notice that they had land in Oklahoma, a little bitty small patch. But come to find out, I found out that they were taken here as prisoners of wars, and the Quapaws, which was the Quapaw Indian Agency, they brought them here as Indians of war, as prisoners of war, and they left them here basically under surveillance until a certain time, which I got the information on, where they released them from surveillance. I was like, this nigga, man. So y'all didn't have land in Oklahoma, and the little bullshit land you got, you bought. Now he was just on the panel right before this morning, before I started my live earlier. He was talking about how he was like, yeah, brother, the government said we can live on unclaimed land. So that's his talking point now, and I don't see how he don't see how that's literally being a settler, you know? If the government say if you can find you some unclaimed land, then you can have it. They're basically saying you can settle upon it and keep it or at least until somebody who might have a land pact comes and get your ass off. Because if it's unclaimed, that means, in my opinion, it means there might have been a claim on it at some point. That like somebody claimed it, and it's just not claimed at this point. Or I could be wrong. Maybe unclaimed means like nobody. I would feel like they would have another word for land that has never been claimed by anyone. But it could be unclaimed. I told him you had some info for him. I appreciate that, man. I hope he shows up. Man, I would love to see Mr. Wanagi today. He's only going to try to, excuse me, y'all. He's only going to try to explain everything away. You say your son is Wyandotte? Really? I've never looked up the Wyandottes, but I have seen their names in some stuff. Let me see if I have anything saved. Look, I've been saving so many receipts that I'll have stuff saved about stuff that I didn't even know. Let's see, Wyandottes. I got this. I just saved something, but that's recent that I just saved. I was really saved about the Miwoks, but it says that the tribes constituting. The tribes constituting the Quapaw Agency were the Confederated Peoria, Eastern Shawnee, Miami, Ottawa, Quapaw, Seneca, and Wyandotte. So y'all were all like a confederation. I'm starting to get more of what that is. Like, okay, a bunch of nations coming together is like a confederation. You know, they want you to think Confederate States, like some YT craziness, but it's just like a pact between nations. If I remember looking at the definition of it, that's pretty much kind of what it is. So all of those Indian nations. Now MODOK had nothing to do with y'all. Y'all brought their ass over there as prisoners of war. But the Shawnees are real. The Shawnees actually became part of the Creeks. Some of y'all, Uchis and Creeks, Uchis and Shawnees were also Creeks in many cases. Miami, Ottawas, Quapaws, Senecas, I think that's like up there in like the way north, and then Wyandotte, like they said. Said my people are Shawnee who became Creek. Yeah, exactly. See, yeah, some came Creek, and I guess some might have stayed Shawnee. I haven't looked into their history directly. Some might have stayed Shawnee, some might have joined Creek. I don't know how that happened. You know, sometimes there be splits. Kind of like even like the Choctaw Chickasaw. They really the same thing. They split. And then went their separate ways and took on the other name of the other brother. His second great is Chief Bearskin. Oh, that's what's up. And it feels good not that you gotta find a chief, but it really does feel good when you find chiefs in your line. I ain't gonna lie. You know what I'm saying? You feel like you can stomp around this bitch a little bit. I ain't gonna lie. I feel like it sometimes. Bitch nigga, I'm a chief. Facts about the Choctaw Chickasaw. Yeah, real talk. But yeah, so them Modocs. Them Modocs was prisoners of war, and them fools wasn't fighting hardly nobody. They wasn't beating nobody. I wish he would come up, man, because I'm actually going to their story for y'all real quick, because they lie. They definitely lie, and when you check the newspaper, it definitely doesn't match up with their website. Let me start charging this real quick. Charge my phone. Let me get my charger, y'all. If I can find it. Yeah, so like, their website don't match up with their little stories in the newspaper. And it's kind of funny. Come on, work. There we go. My charger's kind of fucked up now. All right, so let's go into a little Modoc, because I was kind of all over the place. I was reading those letters, but I'll get to that another time. And you know, my next thing, live stream, I'm gonna do that richest black woman in the world thing. I just gotta pull out my receipts. So these are Modocs, okay. Now, yeah, so really, he was just on a live stream with this dude talking about, yeah, this is like my great uncle or some shit, you know what I'm saying? And he took his hat off so he could show his hair, you know what I'm saying, to show it matches this. I was like, if you don't get out of here, all of these things are damn near fake. Or they done put somebody there. Like, even this, I believe, is some bullshit. And not necessarily that they didn't take this photo, but this is like, this is supposed to be some scout party. That did something during the Modoc War. But I was like, nigga, these people ain't shooting. They ain't doing nobody. They the most laziest looking motherfuckers. He ain't even got his hat on. Look how he got the hat on. He was sitting here laid out like a little female with his leg tooted up. None of that made sense. Okay, I was like, okay. So, on their website, let's say here, is it here? No, that's them purchasing some land. Damn, see, this is what I'm supposed to highlight what I like to see. This is them being 153 prisoners of war arrived over there in the Quapaw Agency in Oklahoma. They were prisoners of war, but okay. I think it's over here. Okay, it says, when the Modoc War began. Okay, yeah, okay. So this is their website. They say, when the Modoc War began, the Modoc warriors and their wives and children retreated to the nearby lava beds. The war was fought nearly 150 years ago, yet it stands out in American military history as the most incredible of Indian wars. Captain Jack did not muster more than 60 men throughout the WAR, but for almost 8 months, he withstood the U.S. armed forces that came to number about 1,000 men. So think about that. They said for 60 months, they was able to hold back 1,000 men, okay? And they said that supported by these men were supported by mountain howitzers and cohorn mortars, whatever the hell that is. It says the Modoc lost only 6 men by direct combat with the United States Army, but the United States let unalive 45 unalive, including General ERS, whatever. The Modoc War cost the United States government its lowest estimate, the time $500,000, whatever. But keep in mind, they said that the Modocs only lost 6 men, but unalived 45, even though they was fighting off 1,000, right? Okay. So let's go forward. Now let's look in the newspapers. In the newspapers, it's talking about the Modocs and the war. So it's not lying. Okay. Let's see what it say. Hold on. My stomach is growling. All right. It's all this weed smoking. It says, desperate fight with Indian. The Modoc Indians refused to move to the claimant's reserve. One soldier and 15 Indian unalive. Now, just off of that, look at that. One soldier and 15 unalive. Y'all already lost. What about hold on, y'all. Let me send this real quick. Here is the link to the updated version, period. And we do not shoot with raw files. We edit directly live, period. We do not have the capacity. Oh, I ain't gotta say that part. Hold up. In order for raw files in the future, we can shoot with the cameras directly to SD card if you would request that, but you would have to bring the SD card and we would not be switching live. Okay, my bad, y'all. All right, so y'all can probably hear my damn stomach. Okay, San Francisco, December. But yeah, already one soldier unalive, 15 of them. Didn't these fools just say on their website? Didn't these fools just say they only lost 6 men? Now the only thing they're probably gonna try to say is, well, by direct combat. Like, I feel like they're trying to use this as some kind of, I don't know, something like some kind of something to get out of accepting the fact that that they, you know, that I don't know, they're gonna be like, well, that wasn't direct combat, maybe they blew us up with a bomb or something, I don't know, something stupid. But regardless, it already said right there. Let me go back to it. Where the hell did it go? Okay. No, not that. Yeah, it already said right there that one soldier killed 15 of them. During one of the parlay with the Indian fired, Lieutenant Boutel, he missed his aim, and the and Boutel returned the fire, unaliving the Indian instantly. Fire began on both sides and a battle lasting 2 hours. Now, did they fools said that these foes had 60 men that held off 1,000 United States soldiers for over 6 or 8 months or something. They said this motherfucking fight lasted 2 hours, okay? And when they first tried to shoot at them, they missed. And then they shot unalive one of the Miwoks. Then the fighting ensued or whatever, and 15 Miwoks were unalive. And the women were unalive, and all the women and many horses captured. The Indians retreated to the hills, so some of them took off running like bitches and left their women behind. See, yeah, he don't want to come to my live stream. Mr. Wanagi gonna hear it all. Why did y'all run and leave y'all women behind like that? I really hope he do come over here. I got questions. Y'all went to the lava beds. You didn't want to take them there first? Damn, okay. Y'all didn't want to stand ground so your women got away before, you know what I'm saying? Let them run while you hold the line real quick. And then, I just, maybe they don't think like we think in our particular culture, you know what I'm saying? But that would have been my thought, okay? 60 Modoc were engaged, both sides. Oh, so that 60 Modoc were engaged. So that was right, 60. Both sides are expecting reinforcements. Four they chiefs were unalive. So they got the 60 right. They just forgot how many of them were really unalive and how many they really unalive of a soldier. Just one. Let's see. 15. Here's another one right here. 15 unalive. Nearly all of them, whatever. The Indians retreated to the hills like some hoes. Uprising of the Modoc Indians of Southern Oregon. A fight between the Modocs and the U.S. troops. 4 chiefs and 11 Indians unalive. That's that 15. 3 whites unalive. At first, what did they say? It was just 1, so now it done went up to 3. And 4 wounded. A large number of Indian women were captured, warriors captured, or, it could be whatever. Troops in the whatever, whites, whatever. Let's see. From the scene of the uprising of the Modocs state that all settlers on the Link River have been massacred and that 80 warriors are in the field with only 35 soldiers from Fort Klamath to fight them. Companies are organizing in the northern part of the state to be here. I can't remember why I say that. I think I was just because I think it showed that they had massacred some folks in a little town. I was like, oh, y'all gonna go after some little innocent people in a little town who ain't ready for you. But when them folks show up, what's up, fatty? Appreciate that. When them folks show up, y'all can't even really unalive hardly nobody, but y'all talking big game on your website. The Modoc Reservation, part of the Quapaw Agency, is the extreme northern corner of Oklahoma, Ottawa, whatever. So, mystery scenes that surround the bill introduced in the Representative Bill McClure permitting the Modoc Indians of Oklahoma to remove to the Klamath Agency, Oregon, which it was rushed through in an omnibus bill during the closing hours of the first season of the 61st Congress. Not until McGuire's memory was refreshed, something, could he remember the introduction of the bill, and he then said it had been introduced by request. The Modoc Reservation, part of the Quapaw Agency, is in the extreme northern corner of Oklahoma in Ottawa County and consists of about 4,000 acres and is said to be underlaid and with rich deposits of lead and zinc. Now look at that. There are about 51 allottees remaining in Oklahoma who are permitted by the act to remove to Oregon. The act provides that the land shall be sold under the rules and regulations prescribed by the Secretary of Interior, which is the War Department. The bill was originally recommended by the Secretary of Interior, Garfield, and reported whatever. So, main things is they put them over here on this little 4,000 acre plot, but they put it over there knowing that they had rich lead and zinc deposits. And, part of me wants to believe that they probably made their ass go over there and be and work in them goddamn mines, to be honest with you. I'm going to have to look into that. The Modoc Indians in Oklahoma are going home. Now, look at this. Modocs to Oregon. This is 1910. Now, hold on. When did they get removed? I want to say it was 1872 they was doing the fighting and they got removed. And so 1872, so here by 1910, here it is. By 1910, they're going back. Now you got to wonder why, okay? Modocs back to Oregon. After 40 years of exile, the tribe is going home. It says something Captain Jack's band unalive General, since Captain Jack's band unalive General Canby in the lava beds, they have lived in Oklahoma, must live among their enemies. So think about it. it's pretty much telling you, if you're looking at it, the reason why they came to Oklahoma is because they unalived a general and they took their ass in as prisoners of war. But he told me that they were given lands in Oklahoma. Nah, why would they be sending your ass back? Okay, and calling you an exile. It says here, the Modoc Indians in Oklahoma are going home, not to the lava beds in California, whence they were taken to the Quapaw Agency reservation nearly 40 years ago, but to the Klamath Reservation of the Modocs in Oregon. So they're not really going back to where they originally had to fight. They're sending them to some other reservation in Oregon, where they will be given lands in exchange for their allotments in Oklahoma. It is particularly of the Modoc. It is particularly of the Modoc that he desires to die on the spot where he was born. The Modocs have been homesick ever since they went to Oklahoma. Blah, blah, blah. Okay? So they wasn't supposed to be there. Let's see here. Supervision removed. Supervision removed. Yeah, he's going to hate me if he ever comes up. Under an executive order made public Saturday, all but 6 of the original 68 allotments of land made to the Modoc Indians in Oklahoma are removed from federal supervision. The executive order provides that federal supervision over these 6 allotments be continued for another 10 years in order to protect the Indians' property. The present Indians are either advanced in years or incompetent minors incapable of managing their own affairs. So basically, they say, look, we're gonna remove our little supervision. We still gonna help out with some of these folks, these old folks, and these people that can't take care of themselves. You gotta wonder what was that supervision, and it looks like they providing them with like EBT and shit like that, whatever it was at the time. Indian lands are released by the U.S. Under an executive order made public, all but 6 of the original 68 allotments of land made to the Modoc Indians in Oklahoma being moved by federal whatever. The executive order, I think it says the same thing that the last one did. Klamath Indian, Klamath tribe wins status. What is this talking about? I can't even remember. Let's see. The House passed legislation restoring federal tribal status and rights to the Oregon Klamath Indians. Ain't that kind of funny? You fight these people over there, you bring them back as slaves, as prisoners of war, then you bring them onto another reservation, and then you give them federal status. Now, mind you, personally, I believe there possibly was a Modoc tribe. I believe there possibly was some black Modocs that they probably fought, and they've replaced them with your little Hispanic-looking whatevers. And I say that because a few key things that kind of pop out to me. One, we'll come back. The photos look idiotic, first of all. 2, the naming structures. Captain Jack, Bogus Charlie, Hooker Jim, Scarface Charlie, and Snack Nasty Jim. I said, niggas are the only ones that actually come up with names like that. You know what I'm saying? Like, usually when people try to come up with names, it ain't really like hidden like that or whatever. But I was just like, And then at one point too, I saw this right here. Because I definitely want to ask him who this person is. Where is it at? Where is it at? Where you at? Oh, I don't want to say it before I show it. Right here. I want to ask him, who is Nigger Bill of the Modocs? Who's Nigger Bill? I really would like to know who that is. Yeah. I really wish Mr. Monagi would come up. But if he doesn't, I'm just going to find him on somebody's panel because he's back to trolling panels. And I will catch his ass. And hopefully he's on a panel of somebody who's on our side and, they'll be so kind as to let me present my little receipts here because it says right here, hold up. That the Modocs of Tule Lake have been doing all of this mischief recently done and were led on by Nigger Bill, who had made them believe that they could whip all the Bostons out clean. That Lakes or whatever had thrown off the Modocs, who were once his people. Because I don't know if they're saying he's part of the Modocs. I read most of this and they didn't refer to him any other time. But I really would like, because they said he led them on. Either he led them on or he led them. One of them two. I can't, they were led on by Nigger Bill. So what does that mean? But they said who made him to believe. So saying that part he made him to believe could mean that it's some dude that just led them on to believe something. Or could have been somebody there. But y'all know how they do. There's another reason why I think, I'm going to tell you another reason why I think this is a nigger tribe. This is 1856, right? Okay. I'm going to tell you why. 1856, right? Native land map. Now we're going to type them in and find where their land is at. Modoc. Modoc. That one says, let me pull up Miwok. It's basically by the Miwoks. Why is it like this? It's supposed to say the name of the lands. Why the hell is it like this? Constellation map. Hold on, man. Space with land. Y'all know what this is. This is supposed to show you the tribe land map. This is showing me goddamn star constellations. This is the same link. What the fuck is going on? It says right here, you've seen a new kind of map. Our constellation map reimages how indigenous nations can be shown by highlighting relationships, connections, and presence. The map displays nations as glowing points linked together as constellations. You couldn't just do here we go, classic territories map. Goddamn, y'all. All right, man. Somebody wanted to try something new. Now, this makes more goddamn sense, okay? So, here are your Miwok Indians. Modoc, somewhere over in this bitch. Here it is. There's your Modoc, okay? So, Miwok, Modoc, not that far from each other. Let me pull back out so y'all can see where we're at. So, we're on the California coast in California. There's the other two states, Oregon and Washington. So they're really close to each other in California. Excuse me. Miwok and Modoc somewhere up here. Let me come up a little bit closer. Wherever the hell I just seen it. But they're close, right? That's the first thing I want you to keep in mind. Coast of California, right? Well, y'all already know. Some of y'all know where the hell I'm going with this. Whoops. Y'all know I'm gonna show you that Louis Kors was here in 1822, and he drew the people on that coast, and all the people on that coast was melanated folks. And if the melanated folks looked like this, and they were that close to the Miwoks, if the Modocs was this close to the Miwoks, again, that's why I said this is 1822 when he voyaged here. They had wrote this newspaper article in 1856, I think it said. That nigger bill thing, 1857, 1856, right? They talking about the Modoc Indians. That's just 30-some years later. They wasn't just living that close to some Siberians like that to switch up or to whatever the case may be. And then when you got this dude named Nigger Bill in the story, and then when you got names like Hooker, Jim, Scarface, Charlie, stuff like that, I'm just like, because you got to think, it's hard to take out the Choctaw Indians. It was thousands of them, millions, if not hundreds of thousands. It was hard to take out the Chickasaws. It's hard to take out some of those bigger tribes. It's thousands. But if you find your little tribe, you can easily take them out and replace them with some folks. By the time they get to California, coming all the way from the East Coast, doing all that erasure, doing all that reclassification, censuses, all this other stuff. By the time they get to California, they damn near, they know exactly what the hell they want to do. They know exactly how they're gonna reclassify and do things. All they gotta do, there's some niggas over here, Indians. Let's find some of these folks. I'm gonna show you some of the folks they found and made them the Miwoks and shit. Folks like this. Yeah. These folks were supposedly fighting the government and fighting them off for a while. People whose faces look like this, and they dress like this. Yeah, these are your Modoc Indians. That's Captain Jack, and this is supposed to be some of the other Indians that were fighting. I don't know if because they also use some Indians apparently against them, but it just looks like you put together a bunch of lazy motherfuckers together, dressed them up to play dress up for this photo op, and you took a photo and you called it what you want to call it. Warm Springs Indian Scouts, 72 scouts under Donald McKay, played an important part in later phases of the Modoc War. So yeah, these people, it's insane. Exactly. It's insane how much these people be lying. And again, you got to read between the things to find the lies. Because they going to say, if the story is the story, it's going to stay very close to the story, the truth. If the story is truth, it's going to stay close to a similar story. Yeah, some things might get changed here and there, but typically the story will stay the same. But when people start lying, man, you usually gonna be able to find it, and that be what I be trying to do. It's 10:30. I got, what is that, 5:30? I got some stuff I gotta do, man. I'm gonna call my business partner back and set up some stuff, man. But I appreciate y'all being in here this morning. I might come on here later on today or so, whatever, and try to get my receipts together for the richest black woman in the world at the time live stream. We're gonna talk about that and how these people likely did this woman wrong and took her out for the bread. But yeah, I appreciate you, Sunstar. Appreciate all of y'all for being here this morning. And just have a good rest of y'all morning, man. Appreciate you, Red Line Cabin, all of you crew out, all of y'all, man. All of y'all being up in here on code. Same thing to you. Appreciate you as always, for sure. All of y'all, man. And I hope y'all get y'all something to eat, because I'm about to. I don't know if y'all can hear my damn stomach during that time. But appreciate that, Red Line. I don't know if y'all can hear my stomach during that time, but like, Indian, all yeah, man. Look, man, I appreciate y'all, man. Look, man. I don't take nothing y'all seeing for granted, man. Like, you know, I don't be paying attention to what even be coming in, to be honest. You know, I just be doing this stuff. And the other day I had looked at my PayPal and I was like, man, that's what's up. I ain't gonna say it wasn't a ton, but it was still some cool little some bread in there, man. I was like, man, that's what's up, man. I felt real good just receiving that from y'all, man. And y'all don't even have to. I don't never ask, and you never have to. Just y'all's presence, being here, getting the game and supporting and sharing the information and all that stuff, man. That's more than I can ask from all of y'all. So appreciate y'all. Appreciate you, Nikki. Y'all enjoy the rest of y'all day.